Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 54 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and it's brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is roasted right here in Iowa. You can go to their website at www.couchtowncoffee.com and click on the Our Coffees section. Find a coffee you like, and they will ship it to your house. They'll even roast it the exact way you ask them to. So if you want a little bit lighter roast, you can get a little lighter roast. I like dark roast. That's my favorite. You know what else is cool about Couchtown Coffee? They're going to offer you 20% off if you make an order and enter the code word CAVE. CAVE, that's the code word this week. So when you make an order, make sure you mention CAVE from the Audible Farm Podcast, and you will save 20%. Last week, we actually teamed up to put a sticker in every box that was ordered, and it went over really well. I got a lot of people that sent me messages and said, hey, thanks for the sticker. This is really cool. I didn't even expect this, and yada, yada, yada. So that's what we're going to do again this week, and we're going to do it for, I guess, until I run out of stickers that I sent Andrew at Couchtown Coffee. So Andrew's going to be roasting coffee all week long, popping Audible Farm stickers in there as long as you use the code word CAVE. That way he knows that Audible Farm sent you to the order site. So make your orders at www.couchtowncoffee.com. Check them out on Facebook. And the code word this week is CAVE. Why is it CAVE? Because I have Nick Rosendahl here from the Cave Band days, and we talk about Cave Band and beyond. I mean, if you couldn't tell from the onset of this podcast, it's 2 hours plus. So we go through quite a few different topics. He sent me some awesome music that we listened to after the podcast. We get into so much stuff in this podcast. The craziest part about all this is it's one of those podcasts. I just had to be like, all right, we got to end this thing, otherwise it's never going to end. And then after we ended it, we sat down and talked for another couple hours because that's how it goes. So I got to listen to some of his tunes. We got to talk about some of the things that we had mentioned in the podcast. We checked them out online afterwards. And you guys are going to love this one. Nick is full of insight, opinions. He's not short on words, and that's what I like to have on the podcast, is someone that makes my job easy. And something else that was fun about this, as we're going through this, he would ask me questions. So it's almost like he was interviewing me while I was interviewing him. I don't think I've ever had anybody do that. So shout out to you, Nick. I really appreciate that. Thanks for joining me on the podcast this week. I hope you all like it. It's episode number 54 with Nick Rosendahl.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
Oh, man. So today I'm sitting down with Nick Rosendahl. You threw some Thor parties that had music at them back in the day, correct?
Correct, sir.
Yeah, I actually I've been to a couple of those. So believe it or not, I want to say I was at like the second Thor Fest or maybe the third one.
Really?
So I was at a couple of them.
Were you like sitting on the street, or we always tried to hoop in the yard so that everybody kind of stay in that one little area?
Yeah, I just kind of stuck in the corner as far away as I could because I'm not a socialite very much. but yeah, it was cool. I remember distinctly. I distinctly remember. Let's see here, Ozzy Osbourne. Not Bark at the Moon. Maybe there was another one somebody played. Shot in the Dark. No,
yeah,
Shot in the Dark.
Yep, that was Planet Rock. We did that one.
There you go. I was gonna say I remember hearing that, and I was just like, God dang, this is cool. so yeah, I've seen
the way the sound rolled off the deck and then just right down the yard, and the smell of the barbecue and the beer and the laughter and all that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. That was a really good time.
Never ever asked anybody from the town. We just kind of word of mouth and put out some posters, and
yeah. I mean,
hundreds of people started showing up.
Yeah, it started getting pretty big there. Like, I would say like the fourth or fifth year I went out there, and I was there for like 20 minutes. I was like, I'm out of here. I can't be around all these people. I just can't.
What?
It's so weird though.
You play in a band.
I know. It's awkward. I don't know how to say it. I'm not bad with dealing with people, but it's like for some reason just large groups of people just get to me for some reason.
Our old sound guy, Bob Brockman from the Cave Band, he's like, when you guys go on break, go somewhere else, go elsewhere. And we're like, why, Bob? I mean, he says it creates mystique.
Yeah.
And they'll just go, where'd they all go?
Yeah.
What's going on? Where'd they all go? Then we all come back in, get on stage, and just rock the house,
Yeah, makes sense.
And everybody's like, where'd they go? They just disappeared.
Yep.
But we had a great big truck and,
Yeah. Dude, and that's like the one thing I think about though, like as far as being in a band, like how to carry yourself in quote unquote professional manner. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Like you said, you could hop right off the front of the stage and just start talking to people when you take a break, and it'd probably be just as productive, maybe.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'm that guy that just walks straight out the door and
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you, because to be honest, if I had it my way, I'd do the same thing. Honestly.
well, you get. I mean, even nowadays, everybody's like, "Oh man, you're the best guitarist I ever seen." No, I'm not.
Yeah, it's tough to take those compliments, especially like when you're younger. You're just like, I'm pretty friggin' good, but then when you grow up, you're just like, dude, I am not crap compared to, like, there's a guy in the next band that's better than me. There was a guy here last night that's better than me. I went to a show last week and watched like 4 dudes that were better than, and it's just, you could just keep stacking it in there. Like, I appreciate the compliments I get everywhere and stuff, but it's just weird to get the compliments.
Did you go to that show with Steve Vai and like the guitar?
Yes.
You went down to
Generation X, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Nuno Betancourt, Tosin
yep.
Abasi, and Zach Wilde, and Malmsteen. I might be missing one.
Yngwie, yeah.
Dude, Malmsteen had like 8 cabinets, but like 26 amplifiers, and so it's just like there's no way there's more amplifiers than each speaker you brought with, so it doesn't line up. But for some reason, all the lights on all of them are on.
Was there any chicks at that show?
Yeah, I mean,
like 5 or 6.
Yeah, there was a few. It's ironic though. I bought tickets early on pre-sale, and I sat like directly behind like a whole bunch of guitar guys I knew from Des Moines, and then I sat next to like some artists I knew from Des Moines, and then like down the line a ways there was more guitarists I knew from the Des Moines area. It's like, oh, this is just packed full of guitarists. Of course it is. That was a fun show though. I like going to stuff like that because it's just absolutely humbling to see how good these guys are at their instruments.
Well, I mean, I've always, since I know that I'm not the best drummer because I'm not the best drummer, but I've always tried to focus on having the most kick-ass band. Like when Cave Band, it was just a self-contained unit. Mm-hmm. And we had confidence like a bull, There could be a multi-band thing. We used to do these shows up in Marathon to raise money for schools, band programs in schools, and there'd be like 6-7 bands, and it's like we'd just not even listen to the other bands, and when it was our turn to play, we'd go, all right, you guys just kind of stand over there and just clean up after we're done.
Yep.
And just own it, Then everybody'd run to the front, and it's like, yeah, we're here now.
Yeah.
But it's not like an ego thing. It's more like because everybody just kind of felt it. It was a vibe, It just because when you get bands playing like up at the motorcycle rally, for instance, it used to be every band played Born to Be Wild.
Yeah.
That was the go-to. Now it's like Cumbersome and Silverchair song. There's no bathroom and there is no sink.
It's not my preferred genre of music.
Yeah, and I mean every band in the beer barn will play that song. And I'm like, because I've worked backstage up there for 25 years, and you hear every band that comes through there. Yeah, every band.
Yep.
And you're standing on the main stage, and the beer barn's like right down there, and you're going, again? Didn't you hear the last band they just did this? I mean, that's something that with Cave Band, we always tried to do not the hit song.
Yeah.
We did like the second or third song on the album and not the radio popular one.
Yeah. The one that came out after the radio popular one lost all of its flair.
Well, it wouldn't even, some of them, like, we do a great version of The Wall. We did Dreams I'll Never See by Molly Hatchet. And
nice. Oh, yeah,
because we had 3 guitar players, and it just...
That's friggin' awesome, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, I get what you're saying. You could come out and play Flirting with Disaster and tear the place up. But
yeah, we did a double shot third set, and it just make the set go really fast because we did like a Closer to Home, or we do a Some Kind of Wonderful, and then we go straight into Closer to Home, which is like an 11-minute song. I'm your captain. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, you just keep stretching it.
And we'd do that, and then we'd go into like Sgt. Pepper.
Okay.
And then we'd do like the Joe Cocker version of Get By With a Little Help from My Friends. So it'd be like, Billy Shiz. Then it'd be like, bow down. Just dramatic. And it'd take it down to nothing, and then it's awesome. Then did a couple Blue Oyster Cults, and then a couple Molly Hatchets, and End With the Wall, and that was the third set.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a powerful set. It's not even that many songs, really.
We like the long songs with a lot of changes. That way you don't have to learn as many songs.
It makes sense. But it totally makes sense, though, like in the grand scheme of things. Like I tell this to people sometimes, like Three Finger Betty has played 2-hour shows, but when you're playing 3-minute punk songs, it's like 40 songs,
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
So you end up with this thing where it's like, do I want to learn 40 songs or should I just learn 20 longer songs, But like, okay, so you say you're drummer. That's what everybody, I guess, has the introduction to you as, is a drummer. But you came down, we're in my little mini studio I've got, and you were playing the guitar. So how did you get started on the guitar? Was it just, you just had one growing up, or did you just like, well, I'm bored?
I didn't have a guitar. I went to the Fort Dodge Music Center when it was on Main Street, and I just heard Purple Haze. And I was like, wow, this is like 1983. I'm 13 years old. I'd never heard Jimi Hendrix really before, and I had an album from school, and that's back when you could check out a record album from the library.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And Jimi Hendrix smash hits, and I heard Red House and all this stuff, and I'm like, wow, I need a guitar. Because maybe I'm not a drummer. So I got a guitar, and I'm like, this is hard. This is hard. It's not, you can't just whip out Purple Haze and just...
That's true.
Yeah. But I learned the intro riff and all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm not getting the full satisfaction out of this. So I had my mom got a tax refund and bought me a drum set from Mark Bagan, the doctor's son in Humboldt back at the time, and he was in my grade. And it was pretty awesome because I saw him at a class reunion like 20 years later, 25 years later, and he's like, hey man, you still got that old piece of crap drum set? And I said, yeah, I play it all the time. You still got that $300?
That's funny.
And all his friends is just kind of,
That's hilarious. So you actually like ended up trying to do the guitar first.
Yeah, and then after the, like I said earlier, the cave band, when we started like tapering off on shows, then our singer and I, we'd do a show called the Shag and Ho Variety Show. Okay. I'm Shag and he was the Ho. And yeah, and trust me, the Ho was the Ho.
The Ho, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And at Christmas time, he'd be Shanty Claus, the hair ho ho ho. Yeah, there's just it's comical, and we just whoever was there to play like lead guitars or whatever, whoever we could get, because otherwise it'd just be me playing chords, and we'd just kind of whistle a solo or kind of hum it along, or like.
Yeah, I get you. Scat it out there if you have to.
But it was such a draw because you're right there, one-on-one. There's no effects. It's just raw. It's like everybody's kicking their pedals and making sounds and all this. It's just a guitar, a chord, an amp.
Yep.
Just like Angus Young.
Yeah, dude. I tell you what, I've fallen victim to doing the pedal dances quite a bit, but when it all comes down to brass tacks and I play live, like either with Three Finger Betty or Unity, I just pretty much set it and forget it. I have a giant pedal board. I use, for the most part, one pedal almost the entire time, and that's it. It's like, why would you drag around like 12 pedals just to play one? But
yeah.
It's kind of that artist needs to have the full palette with him in case he wants to make a soundscape,
There's this band that came up to the rally, and I'd never heard of this guy before, is Duke Tomato.
Okay.
And everybody in his band was black, and he's an old guy. Mm-hmm. And just beard and white hair and all this stuff. He's out of Indianapolis, I believe. And his keyboard player had been with him for 42 years. Yeah. They all showed up in like a full-size van.
Okay.
And all their equipment, everything was all in this van.
Oh, jeez.
And he had like this little amp you got right here.
Yep.
And that was like his amp. And his guitar, it had a name. I don't know. He because he didn't have a guitar stand or nothing. He just set it on the stage and leaned it up against the amp, and he had a 8-foot cord, 10-foot cord, and that was it. He just plugged it in, and it was one of the most entertaining shows because everybody in the band was exceptional.
Yeah,
musicians, exceptional. It's like they made it look so. The drummer's like got his phone and he's playing the drums and he's doing panning through the crowd, and he's playing licks and all this stuff on the drums. I'm going, how's he holding the phone and playing the drums and all this stuff? Yeah. And the bass player's not even looking. He's all over the place. And I'm like, holy crap. And they played for like 15, 20 minutes, just all blues stuff. And then he says, I'm Duke Tomato. And then they started playing more songs. That was it. That was it. There was no talking in between. It was just cool. I mean, nobody's there to hear you talk, I
love that. I've seen Megadeth probably at least, we're getting close to somewhere between 5 or 10. I've seen them probably like 7 or 8 times. And when I saw Dave Mustaine, obviously the main guy in Megadeth, he does all the singing and whatnots, but he... when I saw the 20th anniversary tour of Rust in Peace, I also saw the 20th anniversary tour of Countdown to Extinction. He played the entire album from start to finish, and then when he was done, he's like, hey, we're Megadeth. And it was just like, oh, geez, you just played like 50 minutes of songs. 60,
they didn't say one word?
Not one word. And he did that both times. And when this whole thing's over, he's like, hey, I just want to say thanks for coming out. And if you're talking, you're not playing. And that's why I don't talk. And it's like, that makes a lot of sense. Cause you talked for filler noise if you don't have enough content.
Me and the wife went and watched Pearl Jam out at Wrigley Field.
Cool.
And Eddie Vedder's a big Chicago Cubs fan. It's the year they won the
World Series?
I was going to say Super Bowl.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing to me.
It's where they shoot the ball in the basket.
Yep. Kick the ball right through the basket for a home run.
In between, they'd play. I like the show. I'm not a real big Pearl Jam fan. Mm-hmm. But the stage was bare bones. They didn't have all the explosions and the lights and all the smoke and mirrors, and all that crap. It was just the band. Mm-hmm. But Eddie Vedder, in between every song, would have like a 5-minute monologue, which everybody in the crowd loved to hear him sing or loved to hear him talk because he's just like working off and he's holding his bottle of wine and you can tell he's starting to get a little drunk. And I remember back in the 70s and then he's pointing up here and the crowd just eating it up and I'm sitting there going, play, just play, dude. Just play.
That's actually some of their appeal is they have like super long sets and Eddie Vedder drinks like 2 bottles of wine and smokes a whole pack of cigarettes I hear that's what he does. Like he has 2 bottles of wine and a pack of cigarettes at every show he plays.
He's holding that bottle the whole damn time. Yeah, God. But after the concert was done, Wrigley Field is packed, you know, and everybody pours out onto the street, and there's like bars all over the place. There's bars at Chicago. Yeah. And every bar there's a band and they're all playing Pearl Jam songs.
Trying to drag you in.
We're just walking by and we're like, Jesus, come on, man. The last bar at the very end, the band was playing Metallica. I'm like, let's go in here.
Let's go in that bar.
Yeah, let's go in this bar.
Yeah.
We just heard Pearl Jam for a couple hours. So
yeah, no kidding. It's like I just heard that song better by the people that play it normally. So I don't know if I want to hear a cover band play it. Right? Not at this moment, at least.
Yeah, but it was oh God, it was an incredible show. I'm like I said, I became a Pearl Jam fan after watching the concert because they're great in concert. It's just because they're just like Kiss, they got to have on all their makeup and the
got to have the pyro, you got to have the lights, got to breathe the blood.
It was like watching the Foo Fighters. I've seen them guys multiple times, and they are an awesome, awesome band. They just like wake up in the morning, put on a pair of jeans and a T-shirt, and okay, let's go to stage.
Hitting the stage.
Yep.
Yep.
I loved it.
Yeah, I heard that was like also one of the best parts about going to see Pearl Jam was like he doesn't just play Pearl Jam songs. He'll throw in songs like here's a Prince song, here's a Beatles song, he'll just go all the way up and down the line and just start picking music out. Just be like, I'm going to play this song tonight because why not?
I used to tease the wife. Pearl Jam's a pretty good cover band because they did when the Who got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They did Eddie Vedder sang "Rain Down on Me."
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yep.
And I was like, God, he sings this one really good. Mm-hmm. They should be a very good cover band. Shut up.
So you're no stranger to playing covers, though.
No,
I mean,
no.
you've been in cover bands as well as writing original stuff, which you've sent me, and I will have to say at the time of this recording I haven't listened to, so I cannot comment on how awesome it is yet. But you've played in cover bands. You sent me a small listing of what you got here, and by small I mean it's pretty extensive. Where did you start out playing music in bands?
Actually started out with an original band. Well, had a cover band way back in the mid 80s and whatnot, but we just did like, I don't know, we were doing like Johnny Be Good and Taking Care of Business. Those were like the first initial tunes that you learn way back then, you know, and we learned songs off like the 8-track.
Okay.
You know, I was talking to a bass player of the Hooligans one time. I'm like, how do you learn tunes? Oh, I have Guitar Hero. I'm like, what? What? And then now they got YouTube and all this stuff. And you could, but before you had to like wait for the tape to get around and go click, click.
Yep.
And then you'd start learning it again, you know. And then I was in like an original band. We wrote all original stuff because the guitar player, he couldn't play covers. I mean, he just like so unique.
Okay, yep.
And he didn't, because he played Sweet Emotion for me one time. And he's like, he's playing this riff, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. He goes, you don't recognize it? And I'm like, no. It's Sweet Emotion. I'm like, where? You know, but he could play original stuff, and his timing was a little goofy, so I just kind of organized the drums to his guitar and stuff. And then we were out playing somewhere, and some guys from the ski band approached me and asked me if I wanted to be in their band.
Uh-huh.
Because their drummer, John Passo, was a farmer, or is a farmer, and I was like, I didn't know the guy, I didn't know them, but I just know that they played like the motorcycle rallies, and they played all the big shows around here, and I was like, I want to be in that band.
Yeah, no kidding.
And all I do is just carry my drums there. I didn't have to carry speakers, nothing, and blah, blah, blah. I put my drums up, they put the mics on it, and I just played, and I was like, this is a gig.
Yeah.
This is a gig. And we're playing for people instead of like for free for $50 or, you know, at a party or something.
Yeah, in a bar that's half empty.
Yeah.
That didn't do promotion.
We're playing in Omaha and Iowa City and Des Moines and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, we're on the road and we're traveling and stuff, you know, and Big Phil, you know Phil Smith?
No.
He's worked down at Rema. He's the guitar player of the ski band, and Dean Morris, he's passed away, and Gene Walker, bass player.
Yep,
you know,
I know Gene. I did a podcast with Gene. Good guy.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a real good guy.
Steady as a rock.
Yes.
I mean, I'd start, because I mean, I was like 18 or 19.
Oh, wow.
I was drummer number 13 for them, I think.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. But John Passo was always number one. So he'd, in the fall during harvest and spring, you know, he's farming, but the summertime, wintertime, they'd hire him back. And I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
Well, John's coming back, and we're, you know, you'll have to wait. And I'm like, okay, well, okay. That worked for like 2 years, and then I was getting pissed off, you know, because I'm like,
yeah, it's tough to start and stop and start and stop and start and stop, especially to stay tight with the same group of people if you're swapping out the
and I remember
section.
Some of the, because they're like, well, what songs can you sing, Nick? And I was like, well, I can sing Love Me 2 Times by the Doors.
Yeah.
Because they'd never done a Doors tune before. And I said I could sing If You Want to Get to Heaven. And Dean Morris was like, that'll never go over in a bar. And I said, what? If You Want to Get to Heaven? I mean, come on. And when I decided one time, I was just like, I'm sick of getting kicked out of this band. And I took Gene aside at the music center in Fort Dodge. I was like, dude, I'm going to quit the band and form my own band. And just, we're going to play what we want and kick everybody's ass all the way around.
Yep.
And he's like, then Dean Morris, he got pissed because he's like, well, you can't quit. We need you. And I'm like, Danny Ross plays drums. I don't know if he didn't even play drums anymore. And after Danny Ross, Lance Larson took over. And so that's when Cave Band got formed, and the first song we learned, If You Want to Get to Heaven. And if you've ever played If You Want to Get to Heaven, because we had a harmonica player, our singer was a harmonica player, and if you ever had a band do that song in a bar, everybody jumps up and down, and the whole bar is jumping like pogo sticks, and then the harmonica starts in, and If you want to get to heaven, and the whole bar is just jumping, and it's like, then the song's over, and everybody, it's just natural for everybody to go, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice that like it's not like out of the bad situation you found yourself in, you found a way to make it a positive situation, and even took like a song that you wanted to do and just was like, all right, then I am going to do this, and we're going to do it over here instead.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't like it when people say you can't do that.
Yeah,
or you can't do that. And why?
Yeah,
why? Why can't we?
Exactly.
That's why we. Why don't you guys play the populars? Because for years, Cave Band never had a poster with a picture on it. I'd always just like draw a picture, or we'd play over at Nuts Landing and it'd be Halloween, so I'd draw like a cemetery and a couple gravestones, and Cave Band was in gravestones or something, and this Brian Beitelman, he was a promoter in Fort Dodge for Thunderbolt Productions. He's like, why don't you guys have a picture on your poster? I said, well, we're not photogenic, really. And why don't you guys play any modern songs? Because we don't want to. We just, we just don't want. We don't want to. It never ever became like everybody's doing Alice in Chains when they're brand new, and all this. And we didn't want to do that. We just wanted to like play what we wanted to play. And Pee Wee down there in Fort Dodge, he made the comment one time. He's like, you guys pack the house, but nobody's up dancing. But they don't leave. They just sit there and they just watch, and I'm like, well, is that a bad thing? Well, when they dance, they, because Saucy Jack could come in, pack the house, but everybody's dancing, so they're buying more drinks.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, I'm sorry. This is just what it is,
Exactly. Well, I also feel that like cover bands also pick a lane. I'm not trying to say like pick a lane and stay in it, because that's not something that's 2019, get in your lane or whatever. But like, if we just pick out some of the cover bands, like you got, as of the nowadays, like Chris Carr Band plays like everything that's awesome from the 60s through the 70s, maybe stack a couple newer songs.
They do a few songs that we used to do, like Southern Cross and...
yeah, dude, Southern Cross, I love that song.
You want me to play that on guitar for
Let's
you too?
do it. And Riddled with Class is one of those bands that took those like 90s into the 2000s songs that you were talking about.
Right.
It's not, like I said, it's not my wheelhouse, but those are the people going to bars now.
Yeah.
And those are the people that have the spending power in our society, it seems like. So that's what they're playing. So everybody seems to find exactly the niche they need to have the group of people come to watch them that they need to.
We never worried about that, I guess. We never even concerned it. I mean, we were self-contained. We worried about what we were doing, and that's it.
That's a good way to do it, though.
Because everybody, like you said, we'd be playing, and somebody come up, hey, play some Metallica. Does it look like we play any Metallica? Yeah. I mean, we could take Roadhouse Blues and play it for 20 minutes, and just have a blast with it.
I don't know what that system beep was all about.
That was our timer.
Timer for what?
I don't know.
Oh, man, that's crazy. Hope something doesn't blow up over here. So it is kind of weird, because I always try to figure to myself, like, how do I go about, like, if I was going to play a show with mostly covers, and I've done it before, but it's like I got to pick songs, but I can't just pick songs that, like, had they hired somebody else, this person would have just played all the same stuff, because I don't want to be like a mirror image of anybody. So when I played my songs, it was always just kind of like, I want to pick stuff that I like, that I want to hear.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just hope and pray that other people enjoy these songs.
Yeah. Well, you got to pick something that, like, for us, we had Sean Wilson, it was our vocalist, and he had a hell of a range. He still does have a hell of a range, but we just kind of picked what, if it was out of his, like Sgt. Pepper, that was the top, that was the top of what he could hit, let me introduce to you. Yeah. You just, the one and only Billy Shears, it goes way up there.
Yep.
But then it'd go into the Joe Cocker version of Get By With Little Help, and he nailed that. He says, what would you do if I sang?
Nice.
And it totally slowed the whole thing down, and we're all like, by a little help from my friends.
That's
and it
awesome.
And you just got and the crowd loved it. They just loved it. And when we hired him, we saw him out at the motorcycle rally. He was playing with a band called Axis, and we just got rid of our singer, and the band Axis was already a band, and he was like their light guy.
Oh, wow.
And he got up and he sang a couple, 2 or 3 songs, and then he walked off stage. He's sitting there by the fence combing his hair and all this stuff, and me and Dean and Chip, our other guitar player, Chip Evans, which I know you know him.
Yeah, I know Chip.
And we walked up there and we're like, hey, man, you got to join our band. You got to join our band. You know, you're great and all this stuff. And he said later, I'm up at the biggest show that my band's ever played, and you guys are trying to solicit me to get into your band, and I don't even know you guys or heard you guys. And somehow talked him into coming up and playing at my farmhouse north of Thor. And for his first practice, he brings us 6-pack of tall cans and some chocolate chip cookies, and we're going through the whole set list. We had like 40 or 50 tunes on there. You know, I don't know if I could do that one. So I was like, all right. We tried a bunch of stuff, and I said, here's the list. What can you sing off of this list? He goes, well, I could sing that Traveling Man, Beautiful Loser, Bob Seger. And are you familiar with that one?
Yep.
Up with the sun, and
Gone with the wind.
and he nailed it. He nailed it.
That's awesome.
And we, because our old singer, he never sang it like that. And that was the only song we played the whole practice, and we just sat around and laughed and drank after that. It was just like, wow,
That's
that was
awesome.
just, yeah, because we just, Jeremy Pearson, him and Wilson came into the band at the same time, and Pearson plays for Lone Tree Revival now with Ober and
Nice.
yeah, bass player. And he was 18 at the time.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
You got that young talent.
Oh, he was from Palmer, and I think Chip found him. He had down at the music store again, going through the card catalog or something, and he'd seen us because we'd played over in Pomeroy before, and I remember him sitting watching the band because we're set up back in this little corner, and there's a young guy sitting at the front table, and he's watching the band. I remember seeing him and stuff like that, but he was probably 16, 17 then, and then when he joined the band, it was like, because Chip played bass for a little while, and I've argued this with Billy Lynn, you know Bill?
Yep.
There's a difference between a bass player and a guitar player who plays bass.
I've said that on the podcast
Yes.
multiple times. I can play the bass, but I can't play the bass like a bass guitarist plays the
No
bass.
shit.
Yeah. So like if you need it in a pinch, I can pull it off. But
Right.
It's not going to sound as fancy and good.
Right.
You know,
Because, I mean, Chip, he could play bass. He hit the notes. But it's not, and Pearson is just like,
walking from note to note and hitting octaves and
yes,
fifths and
yes.
thirds and
using his fingers, and he's got his little slap here and there, and it's perfect, you know. And I was like, my right foot and his right hand are best friends now.
yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. So, like as with every band, I mean, you've been in a band that shape shifted a little bit, and now you've started your own band, and it sounds like you've had a few members come in and out of Cave Band.
Yeah.
All right. So,
But the lineup that stuck for the like 10 years was Chip Evans, Dean Mattoon, Sean Wilson, Jeremy Pearson, and I. And Jake Torkelson, off and on. You know Jake? Baby Jake?
The name's familiar, but no.
He was when I wanted to start Cave Band, parking lot jam was right down there at the music store.
Okay.
And he got up there. He was 15 years old. Yes. And incredible blues player. And I was just like, I want that guy.
Yeah.
And his mom and dad was there, Mary and Bruce. And I was like, can he come over to my house and we can play some tunes, you know? And I was at the ski band, and I was older, and they're like, well, I don't know, you know, long hair and all that crap. And so they let him come over with my cousin Nate for his first practice, you know, to kind of like watch over him so he's not going to get hurt or whatever. I don't know what they're thinking, but
yeah.
And Jake played. See, right off the bat when we started, we played our first show in January of '93 up in Titonka, and right off the bat, it's like we carved a name out for ourselves, and all of a sudden we find ourselves at the Larimar Ballroom after 9 or 10 shows that we'd played, and we're opening for Molly Hatchet.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
Yes, and
Sweet.
It was incredible, because I'm like, this is more like it, you know, because you get up there on stage and you look out and it's just packed. It's just packed, and you're sitting in front of a wall of amplifiers that Molly Hatchet has, and you got your little crap that you got.
Yeah.
And they saw some talent in Jake, so one of the people out of Molly Hatchet was like, you need to get away from these guys.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so they took Jake, like, after 10, 11 shows that we'd played, Jake was all of a sudden out of the band. It's like, so Dean Mattoon had to just instantly step up in a week because we had shows booked
Uh-huh.
So we started doing a lot of ZZ Top and CCR and, just kind of 3-piece type stuff because we didn't have Chip. Chip wasn't playing bass. We had Quentin Coker playing bass at that time. And we just kind of took on that persona for like a 3-piece, and then our singer played harmonica and stuff. And it was way better when Jake came back because he got like a Hodgkin's disease.
Oh, okay.
And he lost a bunch of weight and lost his hair and everything, and he came back because he was on the road forever with Bernard Ellison, a blues player, and I can't remember the gal's name. He's gonna kick my ass for that. But he got this Hodgkin's disease, and he came back, and we're like, join the band again, dude.
Yeah,
come play again. So now all of a sudden we go from 1 or 2 guitar players, now we got 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like...
You pulled the old Iron Maiden on that one.
Oh.
You already had
or the Outlaws, or, you got the Guitar Army,
Yeah.
But to facilitate 3 guitar players and a drum set and a bass rig on stage... I remember playing in Goldfield at this little dinky place, and all the amps and everything, I was squished in between all this stuff, and I play a 4-piece kit,
Yep.
And it was awesome because everybody was just like right on top of each other, and the place is packed, and it's hot and sweaty and smelling like rock and roll, and,
Yep.
And it was cool because there was no volume wars, it was just kind of, okay, use your guitar to turn up and turn back down, and when you're playing with that many people, you got to have a little taste and flavor, and just kind of use your instincts, like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one reason I liked going to like jam nights and stuff, because you would go there and it's pretty much just like they're kind of set to unity, like each amp is as loud as the other one, so if you want to hit a solo, just turn your guitar up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's something I'm still trying to figure out, because I grew up in the punk era. It's just like crank everything to 10 and go, but it takes a little bit more control in the blues area if you want to start doing the volume control on your own guitar.
That was like that Jacob Williamson. That cat, like a dreadlock guy, and played bass. Gifted. He's like 21 years old. He's going to school for playing bass down in somewhere on the East Coast or something like that.
Okay.
And Jeremy Ober brought him down from the college because it was ridiculous. This guy would just 5-string bass, or I don't know, he'd just make it look like it was just doing classical stuff on bass, but he could not play bump 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 bump. He could not do that. He could. I mean, I'm like, wow, that's like but he wanted to be down there for that because he wanted to learn that. Ding 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 ding.
Yeah,
it's
almost like pacing yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, he was leaps and strides above that.
Yes.
But it wasn't dumbing down. It was like he was like...
It's almost like someone who's book smart but not street smart.
Yes. Yes.
Is the guy's mondo intelligent but doesn't know the first thing about walking down the street.
Right.
And but that lends itself to that. I've seen that at a lot of jam nights where you get a guy that jumps in there and it's like, this guy is wicked talented, but for some reason sweep picking and tapping doesn't fit into this blues song very well.
Yeah.
Well,
it's just like I was saying before, you could have the most gifted guitar player on the stage and his band sucks.
Yeah.
So that's where none of the people in Cave Band were ever virtuosos, but as a whole, it was unstoppable. I mean, you couldn't beat it. I mean, we played with Quiet Riot and Head East and 38 Special and all. And, we played with Quiet Riot out there at Sheldon Park, and I played on that stage more than any drummer, I guarantee.
Was that one of the Abate rallies that they had out there?
Yeah, the last one that they had.
Oh, cool.
And it was dumb because that's Brian Beidelman that I was talking about. He was booking the bands out there that year for Abate, and Quiet Riot, they pulled up, and I didn't even know who they were because they were just older guys or whatever.
Yep.
Not really old, but
Kevin Dubrow still alive.
Yeah. Yep. It was Rudy Sarzo.
Oh, dude.
Carlos Cavanos and Frankie Benally and Kevin Dubrow. It was the original band. Yes.
Dude,
yes.
That's wicked.
And so they're backstage there in Sheldon Park, and they're on a school bus because that was like the backstage area or whatever for the bands. And the road manager comes out, and he's like, I need these 9-volt batteries. It's on the rider. Where's these 9-volt batteries? And Brian's like, I don't know. And he's looking around at his friend and he's like, where's the 9-volt batteries at? They will not get on stage until these batteries are here because they need them for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, holy crap. And this is because I'm working, this is one of my first years. Well, I've probably been back there 5 or 6 years, but it just became an intense because the crowd's out there and the band's not going on until these guys get their rider fulfilled.
Yep.
You know, and I'm like, whoa. So Brian gets this guy, he gets on his motorcycle, flies into Humboldt Country Store, buys all the 9-volt batteries. Like at the country store, they're $5 a piece.
Yep.
You know, just I don't know if he spent his own cash. Come out there, got off his bike, runs up to Brian, here, man, here's the batteries, and here's the batteries. Guy opened up his briefcase, put him in the briefcase, shut the lid, and he says, okay, guys, you can go. And I was like, wow.
Didn't really even need him.
Wow.
But
that's when I learned that rock and roll guys are rude bastards. Like when you up at the rally, when you deal with country guys, they're polite. They say please, thank you. Like this Chase Bryant.
Okay.
He's a country singer nowadays and pretty popular.
All right.
Plays guitar left-handed upside down.
Nice.
Telecaster. And he got off the bus and shook everybody's hand. Hi, I'm Chase Bryant.
Huh.
26 years old, got his own tour bus, his own whole thing going on. I'm like, wow. And puts on an incredible show. And just incredible. Gifted,
yeah.
Yes. Very
personable.
Approachable,
yeah.
You know? Because he's sitting there playing a little bit of guitar. And I told my daughter, I'm like, JoJo, this guy's playing guitar left-handed upside down. So when he's doing a solo, instead of coming down the neck, he's going
up the neck.
Up the neck.
Yeah.
And I said, I tapped him on the shoulder. He's doing a little sound check thing there. And I'm like, play me a G chord, man. How do you do that? Yeah. He showed me this really fucked up fingering thing. I'm like, what the hell? And he goes, well, you can make an easier G if you take your B string and you knock it down to an F sharp. And I'm like, John Bowman showed me that trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden you have your open G.
Yep.
And another gifted player, John Bowman.
Yeah.
I'm jamming with him right now and Billy Lynn. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in contact with him a little bit here and there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Incredible, gifted man.
Yeah, I've been waiting to pick his mind a little bit. I've never seen him play live, but I've seen videos, and it's pretty wild. Yeah.
Well, with Bill, because Bill, he's not the greatest player,
but he's a good songwriter.
He's a damn good songwriter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're jamming up, it was a couple weeks ago, we're jamming up at West Bend up at Bowman's place, and I hadn't ate nothing all day, or, you know, we're down there jamming and making a bunch of noise, and they're trying to, Bowman's playing a riff, and Bill's trying to throw some words on it. It just wasn't jiving, you know, and Bowman's dad comes down, hey, I got some raviolis and stuff like that up here if you guys are hungry. And I was like, I'll have some.
Yep.
So I went up there and ate, and I was sitting there talking to his dad for a while, and I thought, God, it's getting kind of late. You know, Bill came up, he goes, you want to come down and listen to what we just wrote? And, well, sure. Went down there and listened to it. I was like, hook after hook after hook. I'm like, when'd you guys do this?
Yeah.
I mean, and Bowman says, well, we get stuff done without the drummer in the room. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's a drum machine got over a drummer? You only got to punch the drum machine, punch the information in the drum machine one time.
Dude, yeah, and that's the thing though. Like, I'm learning that the deeper I get into the music scene around the northern Iowa area, this is friggin' packed full of people who have done a lot of crazy cool things.
Yes,
you know, and,
yes.
Just people I haven't seen yet, or haven't met yet, or have had like very sparse conversations with on the internet. Because like John Bowman had originally, somebody had said, hey, hit him up because I had an issue with an amp, and he's done his own amp mods and things like that here and there. So I was just like, hey, help me out with this. And I don't even know if I told him, but like John gave me a quick solution to what I needed, and it worked. So hats off, John, if you're listening to this.
Yes. We got practice tomorrow night.
Cool. Yeah. Tell him
Well, there's a bass player, Tobias or something, you know, this. I've never met him before, but he's going to be my new best friend, I guess.
I've heard of Tobias bass guitars.
Well, he's from Fort Dodge or something, I guess.
I don't know.
Friend of Bill's, but
I don't know.
But you know, jamming without a bass player and just two guitar players, and it wasn't really you don't really feel it as a drummer because
Yep.
you need like a low little thump, and something to catch the groove with,
Yep.
But it's some of the ideas that Bill's coming up with, and he's just writing this stuff on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't know how he gets his brain working like that because, I mean, I've written a few songs that I just, like a song that I sent you, Sticks and Stones, Cave Band did it, 6-part harmonies, but that came, everybody did that. I let everybody just take their own part in the song. And it happens, but that's one of the only songs I ever wrote down as fast as you hear the lyrics sung. That's how fast I wrote the song down, and I didn't change a damn thing. And I was like, and it just felt good right off the bat. And it was New Year's Eve in 1995. I wrote it December 5th of 1995, and we played it at Rutland New Year's Eve.
Cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. We just sat around the table and because that's what the neat thing about an acoustic guitar, because you can have band practice and everybody can sit around the table and everybody's playing guitar, and that's how I basically learned how to play guitar, is just watching Chip and Dean and watching other people play, And that B minor chord, it kills me every time.
Dude, yeah, it is a killer though. Like I've given lessons, and that's usually one that stops people in their tracks is the B minor or like an F chord.
Well, to go to it really fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, like I don't play enough acoustic guitar all the time that involves B minor chords to tell you that I'm going to nail it every single time either. I mean, you and I were sitting here and I missed it a couple times while I was trying to hit it. So
I would hit it on that guitar every time because that's a sweet ass guitar.
It's a really nice guitar, but that's
Damn.
That's what you get for hunting down on Craigslist and the Facebook Marketplace and figuring out what you want and finding.
How did you know how it sounded before? That's people will order cymbals online or something. I'm like, I'm not a fan of that. I want to hear
exactly
what it sounds like, or they'll, like, I'm on this drum website or whatever, a drum group.
Yep. On
it's
Facebook.
a really intelligent group because it's just full of drummers, and these guys will send pictures of their fancy drum sets and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's shiny. It's got all the beeps and whistles. How does it sound?
Yep.
Play it. I mean, make it. I want to hear it.
I totally get you, because I mean, you can have like a 47-piece drum set that costs $9,000, and it's like it doesn't matter if you're not playing it to the fullest extent that you can.
Well, like I was saying earlier, when we were playing at Pee Wee's one time, Dan Trimble from the music store, he comes in and I had felt on my drum heads and stuff like that because I watched other people do it, and it's kind of a flat sound, and take the bottom head off, and it's a flat sound, and Dan says, what do you got that felt on there for? And I was like, well, it helps tune the blah, 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 blah. And did it come out of the factory like that? And instantly I was just like, duh. So I've never run, and I take a page from the book of Kai Hobb, if you know Kai Hobb.
Yeah, I've met Kai.
Oh, man.
I met Kai like 15 years ago when I first started playing. Somehow or another, our paths crossed.
And he's like a year younger than me, but a day older than me, if that makes sense, because I was born September 2nd, 69, and he was born September 3rd of 70.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and he's a redhead. I'm a good-looking redhead just like him. And damn, he's incredible, and he said he was playing the show down in Des Moines one time, and he plays a 24-inch bass drum.
Okay.
And 24 by 16, I think it is, and he's playing along, and the sound guy says, wait, your drums are way too loud. And he says, listen up, sound guy, this is how I play. You will have to run the PA around me, because if I play different, I'm not going to play as well.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, you said that to the sound guy? Because I was, when I was at the ski band, you don't talk back to Ed Wilson.
No.
No.
I totally
you do not.
Dude, and I totally understand that too, and it's so weird that like
the sound guy could kill you live.
Yeah, well, the sound guy would just be like, "Oh well,
well, we'll just turn them drums off.
Screw you then."
Yeah.
Like he could, he does have the power from above to do literally anything. And I've always been one to just be as nice to the sound guy as possible, because if there's a sound guy, he's controlling everything that everybody out there hears. So
my sound guy for the past 15 years has been Mike Weideman and Rochelle, and and Mikey's the best, because I mean he can get her dialed in fast.
Yep.
Because he does the rally, he does the big bands, and he learned from the Kentucky Headhunters of all bands. this drum set, they got the bass drums are from the Metcalfe County school, the high school or whatever.
Okay.
And they got these bass drums because the school had these drums, and the guy, Fred from the band, wanted the drums. And so the story is they pissed in the drums and they started smelling. Mm-hmm. So the band was like, throw them out in the dumpster. And they took them out of the dumpster, and that's the bass drums. Yeah. And this thing is the ricketiest. He sits on a tractor seat, a metal tractor seat. That's his drum throne. And he's in a single tom, and it's on a snare stand, and he's got his floor tom sitting on like a spin out grill stand. Rickety, just flops all over the place. And his hi-hats, all this, it's like cheap. He could have a top of the line anything, but these drums sound great.
Yeah.
Because the sound guy, which Mikey learned off of very quickly, because he's like, how do you get that drum to sound like that? And I find myself, I was doing the sound check for the drum set of Kentucky Headhunters, and I'm sitting on that seat going, wow, I'm in Fred. It's like 2:00 in the afternoon. And he's got old heads on this drum set. I'm like, these things ain't gonna sound any good. And I start kicking the bass drum, and all of a sudden it just comes alive, and it comes alive. And I was like, wow, Mikey, how did he do that? And he goes, this little effects right here, this little, it's like a rack unit, and he says he just tweaked that there and tweaked that there, and poof.
Some sort of parametric EQ of some sort.
It was incredible.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's always been something that's like, I'm not like bad at dialing in sound. That's another one that's like the bass guitar argument. Like anybody can run sound, but to run sound well takes a special kind of somebody,
I mean, you got to have a good sound coming out of the amp first.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you got your EQ set like a smile, you're not doing it right.
No, it sounds good at bedroom levels, but not anywhere else. And I actually, just yesterday, I did an interview with a guy, and these will come out obviously not one day after the other; they'll come out a week apart. But he was recording. He does live recording and then like in studio recording for bands. And we had discussed that a little bit, like junky tone coming out of amps and things like that. And it's, he's like, it's a battle, but at the same rate, you kind of just deal with what you're dealt as the sound guy and try and make it sound the best that you think it should,
polish the turd.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But it's another, I always thought being a sound guy would be so hard. Because like you said, in the instance where like Kai plays the drums in a certain fashion, either loud, I guess we could just call it loud.
Well, it's not loud. It's just the way he plays. And I mean, to me, I want my snare drum to cut your head off right at the neck.
Yep.
And I want it to just pop.
Yep.
I want it to, because if you get a good bass drum sound and a good snare sound,
the rest is just gravy.
Yes, because the tom, everything else just kind of dials itself in, and that's, you start with the bass drum. Every sound check begins, kick the bass drum.
Yep.
And once that is there, that's your foundation, and you work from there, And every drummer is always no, just go boom,
bump,
boom, boom. Boom.
Yep.
That's what the sound guy wants to hear. You don't have to be John Bonham right off the bat. You know?
Yeah. I always thought that was kind of funny when you go to sound checks and it's like, play something for sound check, and the person plays something and it's nothing like what they're going to play in the band live. So it's like, well, you just got dialed in for metal, but you're playing punk stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. So I've always kind of run into an issue with a little bit of that. But yeah, being a sound guy would be difficult though. Like, just imagine all the characters you have to run into on a constant daily basis.
And everybody's like, I can't hear the guitar.
Yeah.
Well, move 5 feet that way and a couple steps up, because it changes all the time.
Yes.
You get people in there and it sounds different. You get somebody standing over here, it sounds different.
Yep.
They got a real tough job.
Yeah.
For me, I ran sound one weekend for I got Reverend Catfish gig down at Pee-wee's one time.
Cool.
And I had like it was an old PV board.
Nice.
Big old knobs on it. It was like a 12-channel board, I think. Uh-huh. And just bare minimum, but I told him I would get him a gig there. And there wasn't very many people there because it kind of pissed me off, because they hear blues and blues band, blah, blah, blah,
Well, people think of blues and they think of like the worst parts of country where it's just like, oh, you're going to sing a song about how your dog died or something.
Yeah, don't stereotype it. I mean, until you actually hear it.
Exactly.
And the first set of the first night, I thought, okay, do a sound check. We got this dialed in, and they started playing, and the nuances of just just the instruments themselves, I was like, ooh, I got this way off. I got to bring this down and bring this up. And Catfish is bringing his guitar up and down. And so I'm trying to kind of work with that. But I thought, I'll just leave the guitar alone because he seems like he's got his volume down.
Uh-huh.
The bass is not changing. Joel Stein, you know Joel.
Yep.
And I think Tony Jorgensen was playing drums.
Okay.
And he's pretty consistent.
Uh-huh.
You know, just a steady hitter. And once I got the drums dialed in, and Joel was rock solid. Always has been, always will be. He's golden in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And Catfish just did the rest, and they mixed themselves.
Nice.
They mixed themselves. You just had to worry about turning a vocal up because he don't know all the words sometimes. And
yeah. I can't believe it. We've already covered 52 minutes, and I don't even know if we've covered everything or even gotten close to covering everything that we want to talk about here.
What do we want to talk about? Music?
Oh, yeah, maybe some more music. I just pulled up this email over here on this thing here. I was trying to find other stuff that you've kind of touched base on originally, but haven't quite come back to. So Cave Band is the big band that you've been in for the longest amount of time. Are you guys still playing shows?
We played, well, actually, Cave Band was the big band I was in at the time, and then it went to Dago and Criminal History, which we played all over the country.
Okay.
And then Planet Rock after that, which just broke up a couple years ago because our singer Terry Bowden, she married to Pete Bowden in the military, and he got restationed down in Alabama. And it's like we were together for 2006 till 17, so 11 years. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was a damn good band. That was a damn good band.
Yeah, and that was pretty sure who I saw at the Thor Fest.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good band, dude.
And,
you guys were killing it.
We had Scotty Rockstar for singer at first, and I know you know Scotty, right?
Yep, I've met Scotty.
I love that guy. Love that guy. He's just the funnest, most happiest dude, and he can sing like a canary.
Yeah.
And we just came to a kind of a dividing spot, and it's just like he wanted to do this and we wanted to kind of do this, and he went off and did his thing, and Jeremy, bass player, he's like, let's hire Terry. And I'm like, a female singer? I don't know, man. I don't know.
It worked.
And dude, a female singer is less drama than any guy singer ever. She was sweet, down to earth, and she could sing, and she charmed the crowd. I mean, she was very humble in the way she presented herself,
Yes.
And just very approachable. And before we'd play, she'd come up and give everybody a kiss and a hug on stage and stuff. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just kind of cool. But we had a show worked out. That's what I like about Planet Rock, because we had a show worked out that we would do our first set, and at the end of the first set, do a drum solo.
Uh-huh.
And then the band would step off stage, and then at the end of the drum solo, I'd do certain stuff, and then Jeremy'd come back up on stage, and him and Terry would do a couple songs, and then Ober would come up onto stage, and then they'd do some songs, and then I'd be able to take a break.
Yep.
And then after, they'd play 5 or 6 songs, then I'd get up there, and we'd finish out the second set, basically. So we've already played for 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
And we haven't taken a break yet, a legitimate break,
that's pretty awesome, though, when you give yourself the ability to do that, where it's like, we could all take a break at the same time, or we could start splitting this up into smaller sections.
Once Ober starts playing, if you ever jammed with him, he don't stop.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you ever have to pee, dude? I mean,
that was my favorite part about the first jam night I ever went to. Ober's just like, you want to play? And I'm always the guy that's just like, I'm nervous. No, I don't want to play. But I, at that point in my playing, had played... I was up to the point where it's like you're playing 3, 4, 5 hours a day. It's just like every free minute is guitar time. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can totally do this. He played the whole entire night at the jam night. And it's not that I played the whole night, but he played 4 hours straight, like you said, and didn't step off the stage to pee or to say hi or to do anything,
I mean, that's back when I started playing, you had to play the 4-hour set because there was no... unless you were a great big band, then you played for 90 minutes or whatever, Yep. But other than that, you're playing for 4 hours, and that's just the way it is, And our first show with Jeremy Ober, we were playing a Bacon Fest up at the Clay County Event Center.
Okay,
and it was huge. There was bacon brownies, dude.
Yeah,
Wow.
I don't eat bacon, man.
What?
No.
What? Dude.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I just
Peter
don't eat
Stockdale
bacon.
does not eat bacon.
Yes, I do
Wow.
not. I don't know. I just don't. I cut meat for so many years, and I didn't eat bacon before that or after that or.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never met anybody that doesn't eat
I don't
bacon.
eat a whole lot
You
of
wouldn't
pork
even
at all.
notice. You wouldn't even notice that. What was it?
I have no clue what's going on with that beep.
You wouldn't even notice because you bacon brownies, dude, and it was awesome because what band was it playing? Because we had to play twice that day, and it was the Nadas, I think, were playing
Okay.
after us, and their original group and whatever, but to me it was boring. It was lackluster, you know. But anyway, we're up there for our set, you know, and we're playing for an hour and a half right off the bat, and we were doing the Steel Dragon song off the movie Rockstar.
I don't know.
Oh, damn, I can't. But there's Jeremy Pearson, he's playing the bass, and Terry's singing along, you know, and the guitar and the drums don't come in for a little bit, you know, so Ober's over there, and he's got his beer sitting on his amp, he's taking a drink, and I walk out from behind the drum set, and I just standing right next to me, he turns around, he's like, whoa. I said, what do you think everybody in the crowd is thinking of a couple tall, sexy fuckers like us? What do you think they're thinking? What are we talking about, you know? And he's like, you're strange. That's the only thing he said, and I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So fast forward another hour and a half, 2 hours. The Nadas had played, and we reset up, and we're doing our set again because it's a whole new crowd and all this stuff. So we're doing that song again. And I'm over here by my hi-hat, I'm getting a drink and all this stuff, and I look up, and there's Ober standing right there by my floor tom, and I'm like, whoa! He goes, what do you think the crowd's thinking that we're... And I was like, dude, come on, I love you, man. You are my best friend, just like right now.
He's such a fun guy.
Oh, geez. Yeah, then he actually put up with me playing guitar with him on stage.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the dumbest dude ever to play guitar with that guy, you know? How about I just play a couple... And he'd say, well, you don't need to know a whole lot. Just do an A minor, C, and an F here, and watch me for the changes. I'm like, okay.
Dude, he's actually really good at explaining stuff and dumbing it down on the fly for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably my favorite part about jamming with him is he's just like, these are the chords. They're usually in this pattern, and if they're not, just keep your eye on me. You'll figure it out.
And hold on.
And he does a good job because it's like as soon as the change come, he just like leans over and it's like he goes through everything once and you're like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
So
we're playing East Side Window because he wanted to do that with Planet Rock. So it gets to the end of the song, and that's a good song.
Dude,
that's a damn good song.
That is a damn good song.
And I wasn't quite done playing yet.
Yep.
You know, so he's looking at me and he's like waving the top of his guitar. Okay, boom, done. And I'm like, no, we're going to keep playing. And then it turned into a whole different thing, you know. So we started jamming for another 2 minutes started doing a little tom thing, and everybody just, oh, okay, let's groove with it. And he's like, huh, well, it's kind of my song, but you grabbed it and you fucking ran with it, and you know. And, hey, if it feels good, just
go with it.
Yeah, because like you say, your punk rock song, that's pretty.
Yep. It's got to be
set.
here, and here, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like you take a tune like Cave Band used to do, "L.A. Woman."
Okay.
And dude, when it breaks down into that motel money, murder madness, change your mood from glad to sadness, boom, boom. You can do anything there for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just all cool until it all comes back in. And that's, you know, and nobody decides when it comes back in. It's just kind of...
Just does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way we always just kind of... Everybody look at each other. Now?
Yeah.
Nah, let's wait a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's one reason I like jam nights too, because like one of my favorite songs was "Going Down" by Freddie King. It's just like one verse, and then there's no chorus to it. It's just a verse. And then it's another verse later, and there's different people who've covered it with different verses, etc. But like, you literally just like play a verse solo until you're tired of soloing.
Yeah, it's like Catfish. The song Catfish. Ober does it. It's like one chord.
Yeah,
it's like just hit an A or hit an E, whatever it is, you know. And I'm like, what else does it do? That's it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it'll go up to something else. I'm like, okay, I'll just look at you for that one. You can kind of feel it. You know? You can kind of feel it after a while, though.
Yeah. And I mean, that's also one of the fun parts about like playing with Three Finger Betty, punk band. But at the end of every set, depending on whether or not we've filled up our time slot or if we have extra time or if it's, I don't know, if the crowd is feeling it, etc., we'll just bust into a jam. And for like no reason. And it's like, well, what key did the last song end in? Just go to town. And
so you don't, it's not planned. Somebody just keeps on playing or what?
Yeah, it's like it ended in an E, and then Clint, the drummer, just goes, dum dum, ba doo doo doo, boo doo, ba doo doo, boo.
Well, how do you know what he's going to do, or you don't?
No, I just feed off the bass guy, and like the intro song to this a podcast is actually a clip out of a jam that I stole from one of our jams.
Oh, sweet.
So like if you're listening to the intro or when I'm talking in the outro, the background music, it's just a loop from a jam that we did, and I just was like, I'm just gonna clip this portion of this. And
that's cool. When I was with after Cave Band kind of tapered off. Well, we had our official last show in 2006 or 2004, I can't remember. But I'd already joined up with Dago in Criminal History. He was like a motorcycle club member, and he wrote all original stuff, and his music he was big on the lyrics.
Yep.
Because he's a storyteller.
Yeah.
And I found myself overplaying too much, you know, and he wasn't one to really hold back, you know. So in the middle of a show, we were playing at Pee Wee's, and I was getting a little aggressive, you know, and he stopped in the middle of the song. You're playing too damn loud. And I just I melted behind the drum set. I'm like, sorry, dude. Yeah. Just count it off again. I'm like, okay, a little quieter this time. And I kind of learned how to do the feel with that. But our shows, we get paid ungodly amounts of money. I mean, we played down at Conesville, and to play a 2-hour slot down in the Possum Lodge, $2,500.
Oh, geez.
For a 4-piece band.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so I'm walking
killer.
out of there, got $600 in my pocket for playing for 2 hours. I'm like, I love that. We play St. Louis, and we played with Confederate Railroad down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You know,
jeez.
I like my women a little on the trashy side. You know,
I don't know that one. No.
What?
No.
Oh man.
No. Maybe I'd have to hear it.
You'd know it if you heard it. It was a country hit back in the 90s, I believe. But these guys were like pros, and they loved everywhere we went. They loved Dago's music, you know.
Yep.
And we played Montrose, Colorado, Fargo, North Dakota, Biddeford, Maine. That was 24 hours one way.
Yeah, dude.
And we're getting paid at the end of the show. You know, we played there for 2 days, and it was another motorcycle club, and Dago was breaking new ground because these clubs had been enemies for years, you know. And he went there as a sole performer and amongst this other group, and they loved him. They fell in love, and it kind of broke down the barriers between all that. And they had this stage that kind of set up on a hill, you know, and the perimeters, it's just trees. You could smell the ocean. We're like 6 miles from the ocean, Atlantic Ocean. And it's kind of chilly at nighttime. And it was funny because this band that opened up for us, I don't know if it was a Boston accent or whatever, but the guy's setting his stuff up, his guitar rig, and he goes, "Hey, baby, go get my guitar out of the car." I was like, "Get your guitar out of the car." I was laughing at him, you know. And he's like, "Well, what do you say? Get your guitar out of the car? You're gonna go wash your car?"
You throw too many R's in there instead.
No, it was a pretty good time, and just played all over the country with him. St. Louis show they're always good shows. I mean, I'd get kind of worried because some of his stuff was like slower music and stuff like that, but it always won the crowd over because toward the end of the set it'd be rocking stuff, and you'd never know what he's going to play because he would play until he got tired of playing, and then once he's done playing, then you're done, you know. Your show might be an hour and a half, or your show might be 3 hours, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you just never knew because he picked the songs, and he just kind of, okay, this is what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when I finally bought myself a drum stool with a back on it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, dude, them sets would get long, and you couldn't. I mean, you didn't leave until he got done playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's insane. So you've been all over the U.S. playing with him then.
Yeah, with Chip too. Yeah, he was in that band too.
Oh, cool! I didn't know Chip was in that band.
Oh
too.
yeah, he wrote a lot of songs off the Unbreakable album that Dago recorded. Dago has now since passed away, but if you ever heard of Melvin James, he's with a band called Planet Melvin. Crazy dude, plays an SG and just abuses that guitar.
Okay.
And very recording savvy. He's from Minneapolis, and him and Dago hit it off right off the bat. So they started taking some of Dago's music and morphing it in with some Melvin's music.
Uh-huh.
And when I learned something very, very smart from Melvin. We're down there. I was doing a drum track, and he sings Happy Sunshine songs, and Dago's song is a little bit darker, and they're trying to morph us all together. And there's a spot in the song where it died.
Okay.
And then I went, bop, and he goes, cut, 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 cut. Why do drummers have to think they're so arrogant that they get that one note that they got to go, bop, psh. Can you count? And I was like, yeah. Well, so can I. So let's just do this and don't hit that snare. I was like, and it sounds so much punchier and tighter when you don't hit the snare.
Yeah.
And nobody ever really thinks about that because dun, boom, and...
Yep.
You catch drummers doing that all the damn time, because, there's nothing to fill up this space, so I'm going to take it.
Yep. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It's like the space between the notes is actually what's adding all the emphasis.
If you got everybody on the same page, boom, and you just punch it. And you
it's more of a punch in the face if nobody hits that grace note, that snare sound that you're saying.
Yeah, because then everybody knows it's coming.
Yep.
Maybe it's going to be a 5 or 6 count or something. So how do you guys organize your set list? As do you do the same set list every time you play, or?
The metal band I'm in, yes. We've polished off a set list of 6, 7, 8 songs. The
half hour?
The lineup has changed. Yeah, the lineup has changed a few times, but that's all that the current lineup actually has practiced.
So you got an opener, and you open it with like the same song. And
yes, it's almost exactly the same set list every time. Sometimes we'll morph it around.
When you got 6 or 7 songs, you really can't do
exactly.
a lot.
We just know there's a couple songs we always try and keep on opposite ends of the set list a little bit. But like the punk band, if you're gonna play a half an hour set and you've got 30 songs, just pick whatever you want and go with it. So. Sometimes it's like you said, sometimes we'll go up to a show and it's like, if there's not going to be a whole lot of people here, or if like this person specifically is going to be here because like one person likes one song and this guy likes that song. So like we'll try and cater to the fans and be like, we'll play this song so we know that a couple people will go nuts for it. But otherwise, like sometimes we'll play on a show and it's like you guys get a half an hour, you're opening up for Lionheart, and it's just like, we gotta bring the thunder today because we're playing with Lionheart and they're gonna, they're a pretty damn good band. You ever seen them? But like, it's just like, all right, so we got to set together a good set list. And John usually does most of the set list picking the singer. So he's just like, we're going to play this one, this one, this one, this one.
Like Mick Jagger from the Stones. He picks all the tunes. He caters around his voice.
Yeah. But it makes a lot of sense because he'll pick barn burners when we need them, and pick slow songs when we need them. So he does a pretty good job of curating a nice list of what we need.
Right.
So that's usually how it goes. I don't pull too many of the strings in either one of the bands. I kind of just...
How many guitar players? Just you, or
in Three Finger Betty there's 2, and in Unity there's 2.
Oh,
so Unity I am the rhythm guitarist. Three Finger Betty I am the rhythm guitarist.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't play too many leads. Like John plays
you're the Malcolm Young.
Yeah, like John plays a lot of shreddy solos in Three Finger Betty. So what my job is to play anything in between the singing and soloing that I want to. So that's where I get my freedom, and I'm cool with that because it. Like you said, instead of just playing 8 power chords in a row, now I can play 8 power chords with an alternating palm mute to non-palm mute.
A little feather in there somewhere,
to match the drums a little bit. And like Clint and I had played together in a band in high school, so we were like no stranger to playing with one another, but our styles are kind of hooked together, and he's really good at kind of morphing to like fit whatever band is trying to do what, because Clint's in like 6 or 7 bands or something. So like we were going to try and do a gig coming up this weekend, or maybe it was practice, but we couldn't because he was like going to be in St. Louis recording with another band. So he's busy. He's a busy guy. And he's one of those dudes that's got double kick, 5, 6, 7 toms, uses the whole kit the whole day. I mean, it's like Nico McBrain in a punk band. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So
a punk band usually has like a little 4-piece kit.
Yeah.
Like that,
you only got 2 toms maybe.
Yeah. I remember playing in it's the Poorhouse now, but it was the Unicorn back then or whatever.
Yep, I remember that.
And Phil Carlson, he ran the place, and we were in Rutland one night playing the Fireman's Ball, I think, and he approached us and he's like, I want you to play at my bar. And I'm like, okay. And he says, I want you cheaper than any other bar has hired you. And he goes, what's the cheapest show you played? And I said, well, $300. He goes, okay, I'll give you $299. And I was like, okay, Phil. Okay. So he says, I want you to play inside. And I'm like, well, there ain't enough room in that.
Yeah. That place is tiny.
We set up a 5-piece band in that little spot at the end of the bar where they got like a dartboard and like the back door where you go out to smoke or whatever. I had my bass drum, a ride cymbal, snare, and hi-hat. That's all I had. And everybody else just had we're squeezed in there like sardines.
Yep.
But we get down to their first set, and there is a tray of shots. Here, this is for the band. I'm like, $299 and all we can drink? And there was like people buying us beers all night long, and he ended up giving us like $400, $500 that night anyway. So it was like, nice. Wow, Phil.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of the benefits. I have been to shows where it's like you agree to take less, and then at the end they're like, oh, you guys friggin' brought it. Here's more money. Like I really appreciate, like we didn't realize everyone's going to A, love it this much, B, come in, hang out the whole night, drink, so if you can make the bar money, the bar owner's your best friend.
Well, you were talking to Lance, he said something about paying to play, or you asked him if he, and usually I've never paid to play, but it's like you set up a flat rate.
Yep.
And we played the Pole Inn for it was up in Britt, Iowa, and it was very west side of town, and it was during hobo days, and we played there for 2 nights in a row. And at the end of the second night, the gal behind the bar, she's like, well, okay, we'll give you $600 in cash, we'll give you $700 in check. And I'm like, well, we agreed on $700. Well, we'll give you $600 cash or $700 in a check. And I'm like, well, we're going to want the check, of course, but can you cash because usually they'll cash the check there.
Yep.
No, we can't cash it. So I'm like, well, I got 5 hungry mouths to feed here. I mean, everybody wants to
fill up the
everybody's
tanks.
like, well, we got enough. We'll be all right. So before we ever got back to Thor, my girlfriend at the time got a call that the bar burned down. Oh. Right after we left, the bar burned down. And the check bounced, and it bounced all my checks that because I deposit in my account in the bank, and it overdraft. I was like, what the hell? Because the check bounced.
Yep.
We had to take him to court.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and Dean Mattoon, our guitar player, put on a suit and a tie and all this stuff. He represented us in court, and it turns out that these guys were like embezzling money out of the bar and all this stuff. I was like, holy crap, that's why you wanted to give us a check for $700 or $600 cash, because you put the rest of the cash in your pocket,
Exactly, yep.
Yeah, you run across shady crap like that. And
it does happen, especially in the music scene. I feel like almost no matter what entertainment sector you are in, somebody's going to try and take advantage of that. Whether or not you're an artist, comedian, professional wrestler, musician.
It's like the 9-volt battery story.
Bingo. Yeah, except in reverse, because the guy that you're there to play for is yelling at you for something.
Well, like I watched the bio on Van Halen, and they were the ones that said no brown M&Ms. And they put it toward the end of the writer, and if they'd show up in there, because people would say M&Ms. If there was brown M&Ms in there, they would trash the place, because then they would know that people did not read their writer.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was like, wow. Okay, so if the place is trashed, you know that they weren't reading the writer.
Yeah. When I was first started going to like indie shows and jumping on the indie scene and going to like Des Moines when I was like 15, 16 to watch bands play, One of the bands that I had seen at different places around Iowa every time they'd come through, they were from Atlanta originally, and some of the guys were from the Boston area before that. But long story short, they showed up at a place and were treated pretty poorly, and they trashed the place because of it. And it was one of those deals where it was like, I'm like a 16-year-old kid, like, oh, this rock band's like just trashing this place. This is so crazy. It's the stuff you see on TV or whatever. And they were just like, check this out. And they like took video of them trashing the place. And it's like, why would you take video of yourself trashing someone else's place?
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I've never trashed any place. I've been treated so good at almost every single place I've been to. But as far as, like you said, going to pay to play shows, like, is that being treated well to have to pay to get your band to go on a show? I don't know. But the argument for that is like, let's say, and I'm just throwing out, for instance, like, let's say John Five's coming to Des Moines, which he is, I believe. So like John Five, he's a good guitarist. He played with Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson. So he's got some clout for sure. And if people know this, and there's like a bunch of guitarists in Des Moines, whose band's going to open up for it? Is it going to be the buddy of the guy that runs the bar? Well, that's not lucrative for him. So what he says is, sell some tickets for me and you can play the show.
Whoa.
And so if you don't sell enough tickets, you've got to buy the tickets outright from them in the end. So it's not always a pay to play scenario, but sometimes it's like, here's the hook.
Yeah.
If you sell 50 tickets, that's cool. You get to keep all the extra money. But if you only sell 2 tickets, you're choking on it. Yeah, you got to make up the extra there. So that happens sometimes, and that's how a lot of the pay-to-play shows go, which is not a bad thing when you think of the exposure. But there's always the argument, I can't put exposure in my bank account.
Right.
So I mean, I've played shows for nothing. I've played shows
for a while there with Planet Rock. It seemed like 4 or 5 shows out of the year would be, hey, you want to play this benefit? And Terry would be, yes, we will. And you drive an hour and a half to play for an hour and a half for nothing. Mm-hmm. It after doing that 4 or 5 times, you're like, well, what's this benefiting? I mean, does all the money go toward all the? I mean, I want to see the checks and balances here, and just make sure it's all going legit,
Yep. Yeah, you got to make sure that whoever's running the benefit is actually going to take the money that is being raised to benefit whatever they say it's going to be benefiting.
Right.
So yeah, it is tough. The best part about that though is if you go play a benefit show an hour and a half away, you're going to a place where people are showing up with money.
Yep. That
are going to get to see you. So maybe there might be somebody out there that owns a bar or wants to hire you for another gig.
So we've got a shit ton of gigs like that. With Cave Band, when we first started out, we didn't have internet, didn't have cell phones and crap like that. We just hopped in Dean's 76 Oldsmobile and grabbed an acoustic guitar, and we're going north. So we'd hit these different bars and get out, just walk in the bar with a guitar and just, hey, we're with this band, and what, you guys got a tape? No, but we'll play some songs for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we did that over at Rutland at Nuts Landing, and you couldn't even hear, because I took my guitar in there, and me and Sean Wilson, our old singer, and we're gonna, and I got the key to the city of Rutland. As a matter of fact, presented to the Cave Band by the fire department.
That's awesome.
Yes, and for years I could walk in there, slap that key down on the bar, and just drink for free all night long.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, I still got that. I haven't tried it for a while, but I know Marchant still runs it. So
you're doing like door to door rocking.
Yeah,
just to get people to see who you were.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said earlier, we didn't have a poster or a picture on the poster, so it was all word of mouth, Yep. Cave band, and that it worked.
That might be beneficial though, like the mystique of the band.
The mystique, yes, once
comes
again.
back to that.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said for like overexposure though too, which I feel like in today's day and age of the internet, there is a decent amount of overexposure of topics.
Well, you get a picture of something. You got to look like, are you going to smile? Are you going to look tough? Are you going to look sexy? Or, I mean,
what clothes
that wasn't even a factor, because I just draw a picture.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense though too, because I mean, you always hear about those cliche band album covers where it's like one guy is staring off in the distance, and then like
he's the mysterious one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The guy with his hair, he's kind of doing this. He's the sexy guy.
So we got to find a beach, and I'm gonna crouch down, and you're gonna stare way off to the right, and like it's exactly how it goes though.
But like we played up in Bode at the three railer before it was Big John's, and now it's the Red Lantern.
Yep.
But I had a bunch of people all gather up at the end of the night to take a picture because I wanted to do like a Sgt. Pepper poster.
Cool.
So there's all the crowd in there and all this stuff, and I took the picture, and then I cut the picture out after I took the picture and just morphed the same people back around, and then I just ran it through a copy machine, and it looks like there's twice as many people in the picture, and there was probably 10 people in the picture to begin with, kind of crouched down, and these Pistons looking at, because there was no organization. It was at 2:00 in the morning and everybody's drunk, and okay, get over here for a picture. Got over there and click. Okay, that's good. And the next time we played, it was like this poster, and there's like 30 people in the poster.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of a good idea.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I never thought too much about that because I didn't have any exposure to like being in a band pre-internet or being in a band, pre all of these tools that everybody has at their disposal. Like, it's so much easier to find a guitar and gear and cheap stuff and to promote yourself using the internet and every other.
But once again, how do you know what it sounds like? Yeah. I want to touch it and taste it and feel it and just I want that.
Yep.
I'd rather buy a cymbal off the rack.
True.
At a store, then it's so I can put my stick on it, ting, 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 and okay.
Yeah.
But
that's a good argument though, especially for cymbals, because like the drum set I got behind you is just a cobbled together one, but it's like it's got good cymbals mixed with crappy ones, and I'll tell you what, you hit one of them crappy ones,
and it goes whoosh.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts to hit that thing, and it's crappy cymbals were such a weird thing to me, because it's just like, well, this is only like barely twice as much for this other cymbal, but it's like
they bend and they crack and
yeah. I mean, cymbals are definitely something that you get what you pay for.
Oh
for
shit!
Sure.
I bought a ride cymbal from Jeff Foreman in 1990, and I paid $90 for it. Just 22-inch deep ride, and it's what I was always looking for in a ride cymbal is raindrops.
Okay.
You get on the edge of the cymbal and it just sounds like raindrops. Oh, and one of the tunes, the Cave Band songs, Remains to Be Seen, it sounds like raindrops.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and the bell is, when you want to ting it, it's right there, and you could listen to some of these songs, and the drum set just sounds great, and the whole thing. We recorded down in Otho, which is very unique because he has a 2-inch tape machine, if you've ever recorded there.
Yep, I've been in there while people were recording before.
He does the actual cut and paste.
Yep.
Not with a mouse, but with a razor blade and tape.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's wild to go down there and see how everything down there is run, as far as like multi-tracking things and how he does it with
analog.
Tape. Yeah.
All analog.
It's pretty wild. And that's something else that has to be said about like technology doesn't always lend itself to your advantage. Like, it's not like analog guarantees is always going to sound better. Like, if you recorded digital and analog, the analog will sound better, guaranteed, no questions asked. It's a lot more work to do things analog.
You hear the tape. It's like you hear air flowing. In digital, it's just like silence and boom.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've been over that a little bit in one of the other podcasts with another guy where we were talking about like the digital guitar units everyone's going to.
Yeah.
And those things sound amazing, but it's exactly like you said. It's complete silence, and then there's your sound.
Right.
And that sounds great if that's what you're going for, but at the same rate, I also don't necessarily enjoy that too much because it takes away. It sounds too manufactured.
Yeah.
Like if you
rather than a tube, say a tube amp.
Yeah.
Yep.
So another one was like Living and Dying solely by a metronome. Is another one that's like, it's great for practice. It's great to have that be the basis for what you're going for. But if you're living and dying only by this thing, it takes a lot of the life out of what's going on.
Sounds homogenized,
Bingo.
Like this band, the Rocksters. When I worked at Iowa Hydraulics in 1989.
Okay.
And this band from Lorenz called the Rocksters. It had Matt Stubbs' dad, Bill, in there,
cool.
and Glenn Samuelson, and Jeff Foreman played drums, and Craig Aarons. And Glenn Samuelson took me aside because he was a big Taj Mahal fan and just different kind of like Free. He listened to a lot of Free and
nice.
Spirit and stuff like that. And he says, listen how this drummer is behind the beat. There's 3 parts of the beat. You can either be ahead of the beat, on the beat, or behind the beat.
Yep.
And I never really listened to it, but you can tell like Ringo Starr is a good example that plays on the back side of the beat.
Yes.
And like the Mike Mangini of Dream Theater
Yeah.
on the beat.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of the punk guys, they're like ahead of the beat just a little bit, you know, but the blues players, you can tell because it's like the metronome clicks and then the drum hits.
Yep.
Click, boom, you know, but it's just so
That
close.
pocket that people sit in.
Right.
I didn't really think too much about that until somebody said if you listen to Led Zeppelin hard enough, you can find the drum and the guitar almost switching off and on between who's going in and out of the pocket.
Yes.
More often than not.
Yes.
And I like how you broke it down too. Punk people are almost ahead of the beat. Why? Because they're pushing the envelope. They want to go. We're going fast, and this is how fast we're going, and you're always chasing to go faster.
It's like Green Day. You know, there a lot of that kind of stuff. They're just like, if you ever tried to play American Idiot,
no.
It's just like the bass drums is boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And it's like whoa, because by the end of that tune, you're like,
yes.
And it's not that they're just on top of it, you know.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. You're right on top of it.
Yes.
Yep. But yeah, as far as like with blues, you almost want to be kind of like meandering behind the beat a little bit.
It makes it sound just so much better. You know, it makes the beat like a whole beat instead of just like I don't know. It spreads it out some.
Yeah, exactly. It gives everybody a certain spot to hit the note when they need to hit it, and everybody gets to have their tiny little space, even if it's all like squished into a microsecond.
Yes,
you know?
it matters. I mean, if you ever listen to Led Zeppelin 3, Since I've Been Loving You.
Yeah, I bet I have, but
boom, boom.
I mean, it's in the record pile over there somewhere.
And you can. If you listen to it closely, you can hear the bass drum pedal squeaking.
Oh.
You never heard that before? It's going heat, 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 heat. You can hear it in the very back of the track, but it's there.
That's cool.
And the drums are they're behind the beat, and that little squeak, it makes, you can hear it. If you're listening for it, you can hear it.
I got something to do tonight.
Yes. And you'll go, wow, why didn't I notice that before? You know, because you can heat, heat. But you don't notice. And I read that in an article one time that you can hear the squeak in the bass drum pedal. I'm like, no way, they wouldn't put this out like that. And by God, it's there.
That's crazy.
It is there.
That's awesome. I mean, something has to be said about the way that they tracked and recorded everything, though, because they were pretty unique for their time. Where it's like, we're going to record the drums at the top of a staircase, and it's like, what are you doing?
That was just a couple tunes, though. I mean, that other than that, they'd mic. I watched a video on how to tune your bass drum because there is 1,000 ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
And the thing that Bonham did with his bass drum is a lot of people will cut the hole in the front bass drum head.
Yep.
He didn't cut the hole in the front bass drum head because the drum didn't come out of the factory like that, because your toms don't have a hole in the bottom.
Yep.
Your snare don't have a hole in the bottom. So
makes sense.
The bass drum, if you have a shallower bass drum, it lets the air hit both heads, and that creates your big, big boom.
Yep.
If you got a hole in there, it's going to push it past there, and it's going to be more a flat sound. It's not a boom. It's more of a puh, puh. You know, and like the toms, you can make the toms come alive just by, I mean, like I said, there's 100 different ways to tune a drum, but there's only like one way to tune a guitar.
Yeah, well, unless you want to go to like open tunings, et cetera, et cetera. But you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I was actually looking up the other day people with tuning guitars to different, I can't remember exactly what it was called, but this guy was like adding frets, like micro frets behind it in front of things, because like the natural harmonic of your third
Micro frets.
Yeah. So I mean, I could probably find it. I'll find it for you after the interview. But this guy figures out that like, and everybody's known this, that the guitar is like an imperfect invention, where like if you want to play the third of any chord, it's probably not going to sound good because of where the straight fret doesn't lend itself to where a third would be harmonically over a note, as far as if you were to split it up in exact spaces, it would be here, but harmonically, it's actually a little bit lower of a note.
Whoa.
So this guy figures out that if I add...
You are talking to a drummer, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So this is just weird stuff.
That was pretty heavy there.
But he figures out that if he adds a little micro fret down here to lower the note just a little bit,
Wow.
that it will sound more rich and full. And it's to the point where like there's different tuning patterns that people have found to figure out a way to make this work better, or like they've got I think they're called like true temperament frets, where they're like wiggly lines instead of straight frets, and that's to lend itself to that. But I mean, the guitar is like literally built as an imperfect invention and has never been...
Yeah, who invented that anyway? I mean,
I don't know.
Put some metal strings across this neck and we're going to pluck it and it's going to make a pitch.
That's so mind-blowing to me too. Like
the drums, that's easy. You hit this thing with a stick.
Yeah, everything's still pretty at its basic though. Like you got wood with skin stretched across it, hit it with a piece of wood.
Right.
Okay, and this is just like wood with metal strings stretched across. Before that it was plastic, or before plastic it was something catgut. Hell,
yeah.
I don't know what it was, but
horsehair. I don't know.
Yeah, so they're stretch that across there instead and be like, yeah, let's just do this, and then you just strum it.
Ding 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 ding.
Yep. Yeah, that's all the way back to like the hurdy-gurdy days when people had those like boxes they would twist and they would push levers down and it would push horsehair against a string that was...
There's a gal that lives down by the powerhouse, and she has in that Manfred Mann Calliope. You know what a Calliope is?
No.
It's made in Germany, and it looks like a cymbal. It's got a 22-inch ride cymbal, and it's got all these slots carved in there or punched in there, and it goes around. It's very unique because it's like from the early 20s or something like that. And you put your 5 cents in, and you grab this big metal disc, and you stick it in there, and you shut the door, and it's all wood and everything, and it goes on these bells every little slot, and there's ding 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 as the thing spins around. It's neat. It works on like a hammer type thing, you know.
Oh, that's pretty wild.
I've got a 1916 wind-up record player.
Is it one of the ones with a can that they play from a can, or is it one of the ones that's like one of the like old 100+ gram records that they play?
It's 78. It's a big thick.
Yeah,
thick,
there you go. That's the one I was thinking
and
of.
when I was younger, I used them for frisbees and just busted so many of them things. But after because I helped move the neighbors out of their house, and the first thing I saw when they asked me to come in, I was like, oh, look at that. It's a wind-up record player.
That's cool.
And I'm like, I hope they don't want this, you know. And at the end of it all, they're like, well, we're leaving, and anything else left in here, it's all yours. And I'm like, wow, why did you say that? But the record, that's the first thing I took out of there, and I'm like, it didn't work. It didn't work right off. So I'm like, damn, but it's got a, the arm is like, it's called a tone arm. It's a Cheney talking machine is what it is.
Okay.
And I could Google it for you, and you'd go, wow, you got one of those.
That's pretty wild.
And it's got these counterweights in the bottom, and it's got a wood horn, and the tone arm is what they call it, is like basically a nail, and it sticks on the record, because when they used to cut records, they cut records.
Yep.
And you put the tone arm on there, and, you know, and then all of a sudden it starts playing. But I don't know the recording process they used back then.
I don't either.
But there's no volume knob on this. It's just, it goes through the tone arm and it grows bigger, and then it goes into a diaphragm, and then it comes out this horn. And there's one screw in the bottom of that. That's the only screw I've found on this whole thing. It's all handmade wood. Yeah. But the bad thing is, okay, I was like, finally it started working because I just messed around with it enough and oiled it up a little bit here and got stuff moved, because they probably hadn't even turned that thing for 30, 40 years, you know? So I got wound up, put a record on there. I was like, wow, all right. Didn't know what song. I think it was Blue Moon or something like that. And sat down.
No.
No. This is like way before
Old
that.
Blue Moon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, popped a beer, lit up a cigarette. Song's over. And I'm like, oh, crap. I gotta flip the record, wind it up again. It's just like, but that was high fidelity, like back in 1916. This is like Alpine stereo, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know, because they had like, can you guys sing into the can?
Yeah.
You know, kind of like,
it's like, oh brother, where art thou kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's like, but I don't know the recording, because I listened to on the Iowa Public Radio on Friday and Saturday nights. I got jazz on Friday after midnight,
Yes.
and blues on Saturday night.
Yeah, Bob Dorr.
Yes.
Yes. Oh
And
my gosh, that's some good stuff.
You
Bob Dorr, if you're listening, I want you on my podcast.
he's been around the block.
Dude, he knows his stuff.
Yes.
All right, so
But
you're listening to jazz and blues?
The blues, you'll hear this guy playing piano and just killing it. And you can hear it's recorded on a wood floor because you can hear the guy stomping on the wood floor at the same time, and he just jamming away on this piano. And I'm like, one guy, one instrument, one microphone. I mean, it just unreal. And then when you had a whole band, you put the vocalist closest and the trumpet players over here and the drummer back here because he might be louder or something. But one microphone. There's no overdubbing.
Yeah.
I mean, the Beatles, well, Les Paul actually came up with the overdubbing, and then the Beatles kind of took it
to the extreme. Yeah.
Took it to another level,
Yeah.
But Les Paul was doing that back in like the early 50s. Mm-hmm. If you ever watch anything on him and Mary? Yeah. Les Paul and Mary, whatever her name was.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, she played a killer SG. I mean, he played the Les Paul and she played a SG, and she's a wicked player under her because she could do everything he could do.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. Just unreal. And husband and wife team, and they'd hit a couple notes, and then they'd hit this record, and it like that. God, my daughter went and saw him in concert. One guy, and he just hits a button, and then it records and live.
Uh-huh.
Who is this guy? He's a redheaded guy from England.
Oh my gosh. Are you talking Ed Sheeran?
Yes.
Nobody hate me because I know that.
Well, I mean, I would have said it too, but this guy is making a fuck ton of money.
Yep.
Because he don't have a band.
Nope.
He's up there doing it by himself. And I'm like, JoJo, it's fake. It's fake. But Dad, I'm like, boy, his road crew's got to be like, what, 2 guys? Here, get my guitar and you grab the microphone. And watch out for my foot pedal. I need that. It's fake. I would rather see somebody playing the actual instrument.
That's true.
I'm more impressed with that because then if you're gonna fuck it up, you're gonna fuck it up good.
Yeah.
You ever been on stage and somebody just totally bit the dust and you're like,
yeah, exactly. It's almost more fun and endearing that way, especially even as another musician to watch another musician. It's not like you're out there headhunting, waiting for him to fuck up, but it's kind of like only you and I know because we're musicians that you messed up, and so you just kind of wink at him.
Unless it's a big one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah,
like there's this YouTube video of Michael Jackson gets mad at Slash, and they're on Michael Jackson's stage, and they're doing what was the song? It's either Beat It or Billie Jean or something like that.
Yep.
End of the song, it's like boom. The whole band ends, and Michael's doing his whole jumping down. Okay, the band stops. Slash keeps playing. I mean, he's soloing. He's just wailing away. And Michael Jackson, he goes with it for a little bit, and he's like, and then the band just starts going again, and then boom. He's like, hey, and Slash just walks away from him and starts playing guitar, and the crowd just going nuts because they're like, he's not listening to Michael. It's hilarious, dude. And he's like, hey. Slash is just jamming away a cigarette in his mouth, and
That's hilarious.
I'm going, I bet that was his last show with Michael Jackson. This is my show, man.
For some reason, I just remembered microtonal guitars is what they're called. So that's what the ones are with the weird frets and stuff like that. I'll show you a little video quick before we take off today. We've got an hour and 40 minutes in now.
We should probably listen to a couple tunes.
We definitely could. We'll listen to them off the air because the way I've done this so far is I don't want to post something that will get flagged for any reason, either on my account or somebody else's account. So like if I share music that I don't own, it will get flagged on YouTube, and then I don't have the rights to the video anymore, technically. So
we're making a video.
This will be put onto a video. There's no cameras here that I'm recording this right now, so we're safe. But that's just the way I've always done it. I've never put anybody else's music on here yet. Unfortunately, that's just the way I've done it. I haven't found a good way to do it yet, and that's the reason I haven't done it yet. But
yeah. Well, back in the day, it was like when ASCAP first started coming around, and a lot of bars, they were having a problem with, you can't play this song, and all this stuff. And I'm like, we're not stealing anybody's anything. This has been done for years and years and years, like this is a funny one. We played with they do Journey and Styx, and it's a cover band. They had them out at Sheldon Park here on your
this year or last year?
No. It was a couple years for River Fest or something like that.
Sorry,
Archangel or Arch Ally.
Okay, yes.
And we're Planet Rock is opening for them. We did some Journey stuff, and we did a couple different. And they got out of their vehicle, or we're doing sound check, and they're like, "Okay, you guys know that you can't do any Styx, Journey, or REO Speedwagon in your set." And I'm like, "Why not?" Well, we do that, and I'm like, "So
yeah." We're going to be here first.
Yeah. So. Well, you don't want to be upstaged or something? Or are we going to, how do you know we're going to do it better? We might kill it, whatever. But that was absolutely, you couldn't do that. So I'm like, okay. And like Cave Band, the first couple of years we played the rally, we played with a band out of Minneapolis called Crow.
Okay.
And they were late 60s, early 70s band. Killer tunes. Black Sabbath did a remake of one of their songs, Evil Woman. It was on their first album in the British release. Okay. But it was not on the first album, Black Sabbath, the American release.
All right.
But it's Evil Woman, don't you play your games with me.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Well, Crow wrote that song, but they were on the same record label.
Okay.
So they tossed these songs around. Okay, why don't you sing this one, Ozzy, and see how you guys do it,
Yeah.
And Cave Band did these couple Crow songs, but we weren't going to play them because we were playing after Crow, and Crow was incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're older guys by this time. It's the mid '90s or whatever, and we get done playing. It's like 4:00 in the morning, and the band Crow is still there backstage, and they're watching us because they were like, "You guys are pretty good,"
Yep.
Well, they're calling for an encore. What are you guys going to do? And I said, we only got 2 tunes left, man, and it's Cottage Cheese and it's Evil Woman. And it's 2 Crow tunes.
Yeah.
So go ahead and play them. Because the lead singer, Dave, he says, go ahead and play them. See what you do. Yeah, so we start playing Evil Woman. And the band, the drummer was like on the floor toms, and he's hitting the cymbals and stuff like that, and the singer got up and grabbed the microphone from our singer, and we did it just like Crow did.
Oh, that's crazy.
So here's the band that wrote the song, and they're up there playing it with us.
That's awesome.
The year before, I think Iron Butterfly was there, so the drum set that I have has been Inagata Devita has been actually played on it by.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which wasn't no big thrill because the guys got out of the van, they're like, "Oh, wow, this is a trip, man. This is groovy." And I was like, "Whoa, man. You guys are like, whoa."
Frozen in time.
Yes, very much so. Because, if you listen to Inagata Devita, it's a great big drum solo, but it's like boom, 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 boom. It's nothing like, something like massively cool or something, but I don't know. It was just the Inagata Devita's been played on my drum set, so
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever played Inagata Devita on any of my stuff, so you got that over me for sure. Yeah, and that's the other cool thing about playing those shows like that, where it's just like, I'm going to play with these guys, and we're going to stay off of their tunes, and they're going to stay off of ours, and then it magically happened that, well, we have to play some of your tunes now, and you got to play with them. That's friggin' mind blowing.
We played this show over in Soldier, and Soldier, Iowa. It's over by Council Bluffs and whatnot. And it was 3 bands, and we got there at like 6 or 7 in the morning, because we played a show up in Laverne the night before, and me and my singer Sean, we just drove on down to Soldier in the truck. So we thought, okay, we'll get there at like 9 or 10, we'll start setting up. We got there at like 7. The stages ain't even there yet, So they're like, well, do you want to set up across from the bar? You want to set up the end of the block? And I'm like, we're going to set up where the beer is, because that's a big fail by every street dance. They put the band way down there.
The beer and the band are 2 blocks apart.
Yes.
And they close off so
you get 5 people in front of the band and
48 It's just, I totally.
It's dumber than shit. So I'm like, I want to set up across from the bar.
Yep.
And there was a band that played before us, and they were decent, and they were cocky as hell. They were cocky. They're from Omaha. I can't remember. The band before us was from Omaha, and the band after us, called Monkey's Uncle, they were from Omaha. And the band that played before us, they're like, oh, you guys think you're all good, and blah, blah, blah. So we're like, we're going to blow you guys' doors off just right off the bat. So, I mean, we came right out with the Sgt. Pepper once again, because it's when we went into that Get By With Little Help, they're just like, oh, wow. And 2 songs into our set, we just blew away their whole set.
Yep.
And this Monkey's Uncle, they did stuff like Piano Man and just like very easy to digest songs. So it wasn't just like easy stuff and no punch to it. And I've always wanted to be the band that just comes out and just kicks you in the fucking head, and then you just walk away and they go, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, man. I mean, there's definitely a benefit to being in that band where it's just like, we're going to come in, we're going to burn it down, and we're going to leave.
Yeah.
And
take no prisoners, man.
Yeah, and it's not like you're trying to show anybody up, but there is also this
confidence.
There is also the little bit of the like, hey, follow this.
Yes, exactly. Because
and it's not like, okay,
it's not an ego thing. It's more of like a neener.
Yeah, I view it as like, I'm going to raise the bar up to here because this is where I think it should be. Not that I think the bar is raised up to here, but this is what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
And this is what I think everyone here should shoot for.
Yep.
Especially if you're one of the first bands or a middle band. Like if you're going to middle it up, it's just like, well, the middle band would probably be the hardest spot to do it from because you're at the mercy of the first band and the last band, because it's kind of like, was the first band slower or whatever, and do we need to adjust our set? Do you want to do this or that, or
you just
go
come on and do what you do?
Yep.
I mean, I found, like, our old sound guy, he was such a guru with this. I mean, you get wrapped up in what the other guys are doing, then you might go, well, maybe we should do that, or no, you just you do what you do. You're a self-contained unit, and you do what you do, and you just come out and nail it and own it. If you got confidence, you can get up there and just, like, the show that we did with Hairball up at the Clay County Event Center.
Cool.
Get out there and that's a massive building, and we're doing a sound check. It's before they'd already got set up and all their crap was set up, and had my little measly drum set out there, just set right on the stage, but it's a big stage, and Mikey's out there getting the sound down, and it sounded just like When the Levee Breaks, because I'm like just kicking that as he's doing a sound check, and the drums just came alive, and there was nobody in that room, and we had a backstage area and some food and all that stuff, and it's like, lady came back, okay, it's time for you guys to go on. So me and Pearson, we start walking the stage, and the stage is up like 5 feet, and we can hear a crowd, and we were only back here for like an hour. And I walk up on stage, and Pearson stopped right when he got behind the amps. So I thought he was right next to me, and I'm walking out, and I get behind the drum set. People start clapping. I'm like, holy shit, I'm standing here by myself.
Yeah.
And I looked out, and it's just like an ocean of people. And I'm like, holy crap.
That's awesome.
And then the rest of the band came, and everybody just started clapping before we ever touched a note.
That's awesome. And
we opened up with a Long Time by Boston.
Nice.
Foreplay
Long Time.
Dun, 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 do, 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 do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if you start with that song, because we played with Leonard Skinner down at the Celebration.
Oh, cool.
Started with that one, and you own it, right? Because if you're going to nail that one, you're going to nail everything after that. Because that's a very difficult piece of music to work on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that song.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
So as far as like anybody that's trying to digest what we've been talking about for almost 2 hours, it's pretty much, you got to go out there and own it.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and own it. And don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Do what you're doing.
If you feel confident, you could keep your hands to yourself, but if you play it better than Georgia Satellites, I mean, you're gonna own it.
Yep.
I mean,
that's true. I think that's really good advice. That's probably gonna be I try and take away something from every podcast when I talk with somebody, and that is probably the most solid advice that I mean, even me, I'm not even like a new musician, but I still think that's good advice for me, to just be like, hey, you gotta have confidence, because literally what it came down to is I just didn't play guitar for a lot of years because I wasn't confident enough to stand in front of people.
But you have played guitar for a lot of years.
Yes. Yeah. So like now where I'm like confident enough to stand in front of people, it's not like I'm like, oh, this isn't as hard as I thought it was originally. But like you said, if you own it, if you go out there and own it, everyone's going to love it.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like with Cave Band, we didn't ever have a set list. We had 4 pieces of cardboard we just lay on the stage, and it had every song on there. Mm-hmm. And if anybody could pick any song at any time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it was like, but if you pick one, you had to pick 3.
Okay.
So if you're picking I want to play this one first. Okay, what's the next 2? So it's like, I don't want to do this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was never ever set in stone what we were gonna play, because say Chip felt like playing Needle in the Spoon or something,
Yep.
halfway. Needle in the Spoon. That's a song that Leonard Skinner's song that not everybody knows.
Yeah.
But it's a kick-ass tune, and everybody plays Sweet Home Alabama, Freebird, blah blah blah.
Yep.
Needle in the Spoon.
Yep.
Or Simple Man. That's overdone.
Everybody plays Simple Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Chip, okay, I want to play Needle in the Spoon. Okay, what's the next 2 after that?
Yeah. Then,
and we're calling this out as the song is going on. So our singer Sean, he's looking at the crowd, he's doing his thing. He wouldn't know what we're playing until the first note hit.
Yep.
And it was a surprise to him all the time.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. That keeps everybody fresh.
Well, he used to color code, like he'd put a blue spot, our first set, so he'd put a blue dot on the top of this paper, but if you're ever on stage in a red light, it kills all that. So yes, so your color coding is doing no good.
Yeah. Oh man, seeing on stage is not always an easy thing that to be done, because I'll tell you what, like I've got like lights on some of my stuff, and that's how I light up my set lists for stuff. Because even if you have like black on white paper and all your set lists are on that and it's on the floor, that's not always easy to see either.
On the cardboard, it was black magic marker and it was big print. Yeah. I could see it from sitting behind the drum set. Okay. But I mean, we played 1,000 shows. So I mean,
yeah,
what songs are on the cardboard. We'd throw it out there anyway, just because you'd have a brain fart somewhere during the night. But we'd always know that we're closing with Dreams I'll Never See or Travel Man, Beautiful Loser. Because I've become so emotional. Even Travel Man, Beautiful Loser just got everything that any song has. It's got punchy, it's got slow, it's got romantic, it's got fast, and it takes the whole gamut of every song and just puts it in that one song. Yeah, I will have to, like, Bob Seger was always good for doing that with his not greatest hits. Yeah, like Bob Seger's greatest hits is like the most palatable album you can listen to, and then I think they had Bob Seger's Greatest Hits 2 came out, and Bob Seger's Greatest Hits 2 is like all those songs that you would maybe hear on the radio once every now and then. Sunspot. And it's just like, dude, this is awesome. I used to smoke 5 packs of cigarettes a day. I love it. Like, and even that, it's like he calls it out in the live version. This is an old Memphis song, yeah. But still, it's just like one of those deals where it's like, God, this is some killer stuff he's got going on here. So, are you a songwriter? Or? I am not a songwriter. Oh. I've written songs and they're not good, and I don't like them. That's as far as it's come easy, because the songs we did as a Cave Band, and even with Planet Rock, like Jeremy Pearson, he says, I'll play whatever you want. I'm not a songwriter. I don't want to take the time to do it. I don't have any desire to even do it, And like Ober, he's always thinking. He's got the gears going all the time. All the time. Or Bill, I mean, he's got a pad of paper when we're rehearsing, or just something catchy will just, oh wow, we can make a song out of that. Yeah. Like the name of our band that we're going to call this is People Like You. Okay. Yeah. So tonight, People Like You. Yeah. That's actually a pretty good. It's hooky. Yeah, it is. It's so generic that it's cool. Exactly. And it's like inviting almost. What band is there? Well, it's People Like You. People Like You. Yeah. Yeah. Because we ain't no better, we ain't no worse than anybody. It's just People Like You. Yeah. That's that's good though too, because like how'd you think up Three Finger Betty? I mean, what's up with that? Oh gosh, that was there before I got to the band. And Is it naughty? I think I don't even know if I want to let the cat out of the bag. We've joked about
we've joked about it a few times, but there's many stories as to why Three Finger Betty is a band name, and whether or not it's a real person or whether or not it's a real thing.
I'm intrigued.
And like I said, we've debated leaking it on the internet as to what it is, but it's kind of fun just to let it go.
Oh shit!
So
wow!
We usually just don't.
Way to lead up to it and just.
We usually just don't tell anybody. It's just like, I don't know.
Oh, so you know the secret, but.
To an extent, yeah.
Okay.
As like if I had to say what the secret was, I think it's literally just randomness. But I also, like I said, I wasn't in the band when they decided on this. I don't know if somebody had something in their mind as to what they were thinking when they decided this. Like our T-shirts are a very like ludicrously obese woman wearing a bikini on the front of our shirt, and it's just like, why? I don't know. And the other one is three fingers that are wet. Like, and it's just like, what are these? Like, I don't know. Maybe somebody wanted a 3-finger whiskey and it spilled over onto their fingers.
We had a cave band shirts made up, and it was a caveman with a club and pulling this gal by the hair, and said, "Drag your old lady out to see the cave band."
Huh? Yeah, it's pretty catchy actually.
And our old singer Wilson, he's like, "You know why they're pulling her by the hair?"
Yeah, I've heard this one. Do we want to let this out on the podcast? I think we'll. That might be another one we let go to mystery. Google it. Oh man, that's a good old boy joke. I've heard that one from.
How do you make a drummer's car go faster? Take the Domino's sign off the top.
I was like, how do you get a musician to leave your front doorstep? Pay him for the pizza. So there's a plenty of those out there for sure.
How do you know the stage is level? Because the drummer's drooling out of both sides of his mouth.
I've never heard that one. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's been a real good time. Like I said, this is probably gonna be the longest podcast I've ever done. It's 2 hours as it sits, and I still have to stack an intro and an outro on this. Let me ask you this.
We haven't even talked about everything yet.
No, we haven't. But let me ask you this: do you have any of this content online where people can go listen to it? Do you have Facebook pages, band camps?
There's a Cave Band Facebook page, and it might have some live performance. We do a probably 11-minute version of The Wall,
cool,
I think, on there. And it's just, once again, the beginning of that song, like the Chip holds down that, it's just a D, droning on a D. And Dean goes everywhere with the lead, doodle-doo, and me and Pearson are just boom, 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 until it goes, "Daddy's falling across the ocean," and it builds after that, and that's kind of stuff we do. Like it should. I don't know if it's actually on Facebook.com or on the caveband.com, or I don't know. I'll have to do some research, and you could put it on the podcast.
Yeah. If you send me links to anything, I will put it in the description section.
Okay.
So, like, if you got band pages,
I'm not computer smart, so I'll have to go to Pearson on this one, because I had to get him to get the 4 original tunes that we recorded in Otho. So I'm like, my daughter actually put in a bio for us to get into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to get us nominated for that. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, and because you have to be a band for at least 25 years, and it'd be an honor. That would be really cool. Oh, it would be awesome. It'd be awesome.
That's always been like a dream of mine to get up there, but at the same rate, I'm not sure. You never know. Like 30 years from now, they might want a punk band in there, but like right now, it's just.
Literal Band was big in the 80s, and they were huge. They drove stuff from semi trailers and stuff.
Oh, jeez.
They had a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Lance was talking about them with me.
Yes, they were great.
Few weeks back.
I mean, they did original stuff. They opened for some big bands like down at Hilton Coliseum or something, I think. God, who did they play with? But it was hair band stuff.
Yep.
Because they had the big hair and the fancy outfits and stuff. We saw them at the Star Ballroom in Dakota City, which is now Melinda's School of Dance.
Yep.
And that's where I played my first gig ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, September 26th of 1986. Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
My first gig was at a school.
Really?
When I was in high school, played with a band in high school.
They don't have bands in school no more. It's for like when I had my senior prom in 1987, they had a band.
Yep.
And they played the tunes of the day, and the very next year, I think they had a DJ, and it just, if you can't be in a band, you're a DJ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you can't get along with people in a band, there's no downing on a DJ.
Nope.
But, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, there's two different types of DJs too. There's somebody that has a laptop and speakers and they're just like, what do you want to hear next? This. Okay, boop. It's in the playlist. And then there's DJs that are going wicka chicka scratch and stuff. That's mind blowing to me.
Well, I mean, they got a show. They do a show.
Yep.
You know, they've created that. You know.
Yeah, that's a total different beast. I actually bought turntables trying to figure out how to do that, and it's
2 turntables and a microphone.
It's way harder than you think it is to do it with like actual analog equipment. So that's why anytime I ever see that stuff, I'm always just like, I'm going to get in on some of this and just watch what these people are doing. Like
that wrecks the turntable, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But and I'll tell you what, I've seen people do it with digital setups and software. It's wicked easy. It's so easy that it's almost dumb, unfortunately, because it's just like, I want this song to be at this tempo and this song to be at this tempo.
I know. That's what I don't like about digital recording, because it's just the click of a mouse and poof, you're there. And there's no... I mean, the sound is already made for you because it's already punched in, you know, and, you want a cymbal right here and ting, 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 you hit this key and big boom, you got this and a cowbell. And no, I want to hear a person with a stick hitting that cowbell, like the Saturday Night Live skit, you know, more cowbell.
Yeah. Well, we did like a 3-Finger Betty album. There'll be a podcast about like our upcoming album that we've recorded, but, long story short, we had recorded it once before, slave to the metronome, used every tool we had at our disposal, copy, paste if you want to. You want this pinch harmonic to be exactly here, we can move it there. It sounds great, but it like we talked about, it's so manufactured that it was just like, this isn't even real, is it?
Yeah, because I mean, you could take a piece of music with somebody that can't sing and you could hit pitch shift and... boom, they're the best singer ever, but you go see them live, you're like, oh.
Yeah, this isn't that good.
Yeah, so why glaze the donut when you ain't got the donut there?
Exactly.
You know?
I just view it as two completely different art forms, being in a studio and being live.
Yeah.
Like, you can manufacture something in the studio that's absolutely perfect and go play it live, and it's not even the same thing. It can't be the same thing. It's just not going to be.
Well, like our old sound guy, Bob, would say, before you record it, play it out live for 2-3 months.
Yep.
You know, just to see if that's where you want the song to go, because the song could take multiple different directions.
Yep.
Like he always said, you got to have a hook. So I write the tunes I write, like this song Remains to Be Seen. It doesn't have a chorus. It doesn't have a bridge. It's just like 2 verses and that's it. You know, like Behind Blue Eyes by the Who is a great example. No one knows what it's like to be... There's no chorus. There's no...
No, because at the end he just says, behind blue eyes.
Yeah, that's it.
And then it starts over.
Yeah. And it just... It keeps you... It's whatever draws you in. It's the hook, you know. It makes you want to... It's what makes you sing it in the shower and stuff like that.
Unless you're Def Leppard, where you got like, this is the pre-chorus, the pre-chorus, the chorus, the post-chorus, and everything's a hook.
Well, you listen to the country music radio and it's like... There's your 4 bars intro, there's your verse, then there's like a little bridge thing, then there's another verse, then it maybe a bridge thing, or it goes straight into the chorus, does another chorus, then a 4-bar solo, then it all breaks down, acoustic guitar, and then it chorus out. And it's like, come on, man.
It all sounds the same.
Come on, man.
So like we recorded it like that, slave to the metronome. We ended up going back to a different recording space and recording it. I guess the term would be like a live in-house recording. So we all set up all of our stuff and played together as opposed to
you didn't do that to be...
No, we single tracked every single thing. So
that's tough.
It is way tough. I didn't realize how tough it was to single track everything, because you're so removed from everybody else in the band.
Because you're not working off the next guy.
Bingo.
You know?
Yep. So when we ended up doing it all live, isolated, you know, the cabs and everything like that. But when we did it all live in one room together with headphones on and stuff, it was like, oh, this sounds way better.
Oh yeah,
like way better, because it still has that life, that feel to it. It captures what we put out there live, whereas that's where you're going to see us most time anyways.
Yeah.
So like it captures that feel instead of just being like, this is as manufactured and perfect as we could get it.
There's, because I've done songs both ways like that, and I've even tried the recording process of do just a beat through the whole song. I recorded this disco song, and then after the beat was there, then the next track I did toms. Then the next track hit the cymbals.
Oh,
and
wow.
It makes it sound very smooth.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's everything, because you got the beat there to lock it all in. I mean, the beat locks it all in, and you're doing your tom rolls or whatever, and it's so weird to play the song without hitting a cymbal.
Yeah. Oh God, I bet, man. Like, and that just like blows my mind that you could even do that in the first place with a drum set. Because like guitar, it's easy to like, I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna layer this in, then I'm gonna layer this in. But with a drum set, it's not. I wouldn't imagine it'd be the same beast.
I used to do that when the Hooligans would practice over at my place, and Matt Stubbs, I'm not calling you out, Stubbs, but he would get cymbal happy, so he'd show up for practice, and I'd have all the cymbals gone. I'd give him a ride cymbal and a hi-hat. He's like, "Come on, man!" I'm like, "You don't have to hit a cymbal every 4 counts." It pisses me off when drummers do that, because it's not necessary.
It washes all the sound.
Yeah,
out,
I mean,
especially in a live setting.
Yes, if you're recording, a cymbal just washes over everything, and it takes out 2 or 3 counts of what could be there.
Yes.
Yes,
this is going to be the focal point.
And all of a sudden,
yeah, totally. Is there anything else you want to plug while we're still here? Because we've eclipsed 2 hours, and I'm going to leave it all in there for the most part. So
cut and paste, baby.
Cut and paste. We're gonna do this podcast to a metronome.
Yes.
Beep, beep, beep. I'm going to leave it in the background. No. Nick, it's great sitting down talking. This is probably the first time you and I've ever talked, maybe even other than across the counter at a grocery store where I used to work.
You hippie?
Everyone used to call me a hippie when I worked back there because I had long hair. But oh man, that's one of those things. I met so many people across the counter working at a grocery store that I knew played music that I never got to converse with outside of that. And now that I don't have a public job, I don't get to see everybody all the time, and it's kind of sucks because it's like, well, now I know these guys all play music, and I have more in common to talk to them about than I ever
now you're
did.
a public figure because they put you up on a pedestal up on the stage there.
Yeah, I guess so. Is
that the guy with the podcast? We don't know because we've never seen him before.
I get that a lot, believe it or not. The Rockin' Picnic. I mean, like I didn't have a moment alone at the Rockin' Picnic for like 7 hours because people would just keep tracking me down, being like, "You're the podcast guy." And it's like, all right, I'll sit and talk to you for half an hour.
You got a good voice for radio.
I've heard that a lot too.
Or a good face for radio.
For radio, probably. Yeah. That's what I always think about that when people are like, "You sound really good and really professional." It's like, that means I don't look good, probably, because of all those radio guys. Sorry, Bob Minter and Mason, who I've interviewed on here that are radio guys. Oh man. But thanks for joining me on the podcast. Thanks for making time to
hell yeah, man.
Because my schedule is ludicrous right now. So thanks for finding that small window we found to fit in here, and we packed 2 hours of an interview into it. That's awesome.
Yeah, we can play some guitar now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You betcha. Thanks, man.
Oh, snap. That's episode number 54. Did you make it all the way through in one shot? Oh, man. I hope you were going somewhere important because this was a long one. We sat down and talked about a lot of stuff. One thing I do have to mention is, like, after we got done doing the podcast, the two of us sat down and he made me listen to Since I've Been Loving You and listen for that squeak he was talking about. Led Zeppelin, Still Loving You. It's on Led Zeppelin 3. And now I can't unhear that drum squeak. And yeah, thanks for that, Nick. I really appreciate it. It's kind of crazy though, because it's definitely there, and it's not necessary. It doesn't really stand out ludicrously either. It's really kind of cool. So that's something really cool. We went over a lot of things in this podcast, and when I say we went over a lot of things in this podcast, I mean I almost wish I bullet pointed everything so I could talk about it after the podcast, because we covered so much ground as far as bands that Nick has been in, people he's played with, places he's played. Just cool music he's heard, all the way down to like us talking about microtonal guitars and things like that. And it was just a really good time sitting down talking with Nick. He was one of those guys that I'd seen around the small town here, but I just hadn't really ever talked to him too much, and we got along famously. So it was really kind of neat to sit down and talk with him. Thanks for stopping by and chatting with me, Nick. I hope to have you on again soon sometime. I did put a link down below to check out Nick's Cave Band Facebook page. There are some videos on there. I would recommend checking those out. They're pretty sweet. So there's some videos down there. I don't have any other links for any other things from Nick, but you just got to check it out. Make sure you try and find them on Facebook. Hit up that Cave Band page and check it out. Nick is on Facebook. You can find him on there if you want to hit him up about maybe booking him for a show or something like that. I'm probably not going to share his personal Facebook page. I do probably have him tagged in a couple of pictures online, though, so if you want to check that out, feel free to check that out. There's tons of stuff going on there. You can find all things Audible Farm at www.audiblefarm.com. It has all the social media as far as where you can listen, and just everything of that nature is going to be on www.audiblefarm.com. We do have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is facebook.com/audiblefarm. That's where most of the updates and things of that nature live. There's also a Facebook group I've been kind of promoting a little bit here and there. It's just called Audible Farm, Iowa Live Music and Entertainment Promotion. I want to say to everybody in Iowa, I don't care if you're juggling, I don't care if you're going to be drawing pictures in a park. If you got a Facebook page for something that you're going to be doing to entertain anybody, toss it in there. Toss that Facebook event in there. Let me know what's going on. It'll be aggregated with a calendar in there. I've debated a couple of times whether or not to pull up the calendar and talk about what's going to be coming up next week. And I guess as of this week, there aren't any shows added to my calendar. So that's that. Unfortunately, there's no events coming up next weekend on the calendar. So if you got a band, hop in there, toss your events, every single one of them, toss them in there. It'll be aggregated on a calendar for me. If you go to facebook.com on a computer, you can actually see it by going to that group. There's an events tab on the left-hand side, and then you just click the calendar link, and boom, there's a nice little calendar of all the things that are going on. I mean, there's plenty more going on than this, but as of right now, that's what I'm trying to aggregate, a nice set of lists. Maybe I'll even make a nice little Friday show where I just announce some shows that are going on around the area. Speaking of shows that were going on around the area, last weekend I went and saw Warbringer and Enforcer. I have been an Enforcer fan for a few years. Kelsey Magnolia, I did a podcast with her a handful back. She kind of showed them to me and was just like, you got to check these guys out. I think you'd like them. And sure enough, they're one of my favorite metal bands that's going around today. And that show was amazing. It was so good. Dark Mirror opened up for the show, and Dark Mirror did not disappoint. They definitely brought a lot of people with them. Tons of people were happy to see them. There was Dark Mirror chants afterwards. It was really kind of a crazy thing. It was like a flashback to like 2009 or something. It was really wild. So it was good to see them. I got to see Air of Sorrow play. I hadn't seen them in a long time, and this was my first time seeing Frontal Assault. And Frontal Assault, you guys killed it. I don't know if you guys are listening to the podcast, but if anybody knows anybody in Frontal Assault, give them a poke for me, because that was a hell of a good outing for those guys too. The whole show was stacked. The whole thing was amazing. I ended up actually videotaping Dark Mirror's set. I put it on the Audible Farm YouTube page, which you can go to youtube.com and just search for Audible Farm and find it there. Make sure you subscribe. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, www.audiblefarm.com. I got to say thanks to the Iowa Podcast Network for setting up that website for me. It's not a very involved website, but it has all of the things I need on there at right now. It's right there. So I really appreciate everything Iowa Podcast Network is doing for me on that aspect. You can also go to the website and find a form to fill out to ask me if I want to interview you. The answer will probably be yes, but there will also be a hook, and that hook is that I'm a very busy person. So let's try to make our schedules line up, and let's do a little sit down and a little talk. I'll see what you got going on music-wise, and we can kind of pump up whatever you got going on. All artists, professional wrestlers, anybody, whatever you got going on, let me know. I just kind of want to talk to people. So that's what's going on in my world this week. Any shows coming up this week, let me know. Any shows coming up next week, make sure you drop them in that Facebook post. And I also want to say a huge thanks to Couchtown Coffee for sponsoring this episode. Make sure you use the code word CAVE. That's good. Excuse me, that's good for, let's see here. Today is the 24th. Oops, I probably shouldn't have said that. I let the cat out of the bag as to when I pre-recorded this. This is going to come out on the 26th, so anytime between September 26th and October 2nd, if you enter that code word CAVE, you save 20% and you get a free Audible Farm sticker. So check that out. That's going to be really cool. Free stuff's always good, and you're saving 20%. you're going to drink the coffee anyways, so just buy the best coffee you can. Buy some Couch Town. Make sure you save yourself 20% because you're listening to the Audible Farm podcast. And that's it for the week. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. 2 hours and 20 minutes in almost. Woo! You guys are troopers. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I'll see you next week. Peace.